Every morning at 6:58, a timid romance begins before either of its leads can say a single honest word. Hikoichi boards his usual train, spots the dark-haired girl he secretly loves, and immediately loses his composure. After rushing onto the Maibara-bound train, Hikoichi finds the same girl from another school sitting nearby. He does not even know her name, yet he spends the ride imagining the ordinary conversation he desperately wishes he could have with her. Their mutual awkwardness has not gone unnoticed. A manager, an office worker, and a university student watch from nearby, silently begging Hikoichi to speak while treating the pair's secret crush like the most important romance on television. It all started months earlier, when the regular commuters noticed Hikoichi repeatedly searching the carriage for the mysterious girl. At first it seemed like curiosity, then came the glances. The blushing made everything obvious. 2 months earlier, one shared seat was enough to expose everything. Hikoichi grinned uncontrollably beside her, she blushed just as hard, and the 3 commuters finally became certain that both students were hopelessly in love. By now, the manager, office lady, and university student have exchanged contact information and formed a secret commentary group. Between teasing messages, they debate the real problem. Hikoichi cannot confess until he finds a natural way to meet her. The spectators briefly consider using another passenger as an introduction, but that plan is far too risky. Then Hikoichi notices a character charm hanging from the girl's school bag. At last he may have an opening. The charm belongs to Shion from the popular game Genshin, and Hikoichi recognizes it instantly. His eyes widen. The watchers notice. One simple question about the game could finally begin their first conversation. Hikoichi gathers every ounce of courage, points to the charm, and asks whether she likes Genshin. His voice shakes, but the words finally come out. The entire secret audience freezes. Unfortunately, an older gamer sitting nearby assumes the question was meant for him. He cheerfully shows off his own character charm, turning Hikoichi's perfect opening into a painfully public misunderstanding. The friendly man then notices the girl's keychain and asks whether she plays too. Hikoichi and the watching commuters stare in horror. The conversation has begun, but the wrong person started it. Blushing, the girl admits she recently started playing and already likes the game enough to spend money on it. The older man praises her enthusiasm while Hikoichi sits beside them completely defeated. So close. Refusing to surrender, Hikoichi turns back to the girl and asks whether she would like to play Genshin with him. The commuters hold their breath, knowing that her answer could lead to exchanged usernames, and perhaps much more. The older gamer nearly interrupts again, so Hikoichi blurts out that the invitation was not meant for him. Before the embarrassed girl can respond properly, the train reaches Sakuranomiya, and the moment is torn away. The next morning, the observers celebrate Hikoichi's small step forward, only to notice an unfamiliar cheerful girl greeting the dark-haired student. Her flushed reaction suggests that last night's interrupted invitation is still very much on her mind. Speaking privately with her friend Himari, the girl admits she was thrilled when she thought Hikoichi was talking to her, and mortified when the misunderstanding unfolded. She wanted to play with him. The feeling was mutual all along. 3 days later, Hikoichi is stunned when the girl chooses the seat beside him again. After their awkward exchange, he had feared she would avoid him forever. Instead, she is right there. Sitting shoulder to shoulder, both students replay the failed Genshin conversation in their minds. Hikoichi thinks confessing now would be absurdly early, while she remembers how happy and embarrassed she felt when he spoke. The 3 commuters can practically see the tension radiating from the pair. Convinced that the crush is mutual, they flood their group chat with excitement, while pretending to behave normally in the carriage. The university student suddenly challenges their certainty. Perhaps the girl was only embarrassed by the misunderstanding, and never liked Hikoichi at all. The possibility lands like cold water. Nothing is proven yet. Hikoichi dares to hope that she chose the seat because she likes him, then immediately worries that he is imagining everything. The office lady argues that sitting beside him again required courage. That has to mean something. Still, doubt spreads through the group. Maybe the 2 teenagers merely thought they shared a pleasant moment, while the commuters built an entire romance around it. The manager refuses to accept such a bleak explanation. The office lady admits she wants their theory to be true, because love is full of misunderstandings and fragile hopes. Looking at both students' flushed faces, the group decides their feelings are simply too obvious to ignore. Beside each other, Hikoichi and the girl silently call themselves cowards. One keychain and one shared seat have brought them incredible happiness, yet neither knows how to cross the final distance between strangers. The girl decides that even another misunderstanding would be worth enduring if it gave her the courage to learn how Hikoichi truly feels. As she grips her novel, the university student notices a suspicious phrase reflected in the window. Printed across the book is a message that reads, "I also's like you." From Hikoichi's angle, it looks almost like a silent confession aimed directly at him. His heart stops. Hikoichi finally catches sight of the words and stares in disbelief. The commuters see them too, and for one glorious second, everyone thinks the girl has found a brilliant way to confess without speaking. The entire carriage reacts as though history has just been made. Even a nearby child notices the romantic message. Then the advertisement beneath it reveals the truth. The words belong to a best-selling novel. Hikoichi realizes he nearly mistook a book title for a confession and scolds himself for dreaming. Convinced she is simply another student from another school, he decides to stop searching for hidden meanings in everything she does. At school, Himari recognizes the popular novel and explains that it follows a boy and girl who sit together every morning. Nayu quietly holds the book close, because its story resembles her own far more than her friend realizes. Nayu remembers how Hikoichi once helped her when she felt unwell on the platform. The act may have seemed small to him, but it became precious to her, and her feelings deepened long before she found the courage to speak. Unlike the heroine in her novel, Nayu cannot stop thinking about the boy beside her. Meanwhile, the three passengers argue over every possible interpretation, completely unaware that the simple truth is already written on her face. Late at night, Hikoichi struggles through unfinished English homework and refuses to sleep until it is done. No matter how exhausted he becomes, he is determined to catch the usual morning train and see her again. The next morning, the train rocks steadily along the tracks while the three regular spectators watch from nearby. Hikoichi's lack of sleep is obvious, and every sway of the carriage threatens disaster. His eyes finally close, and his head drops onto Nayu's shoulder. She freezes with her book clutched against her chest as the hidden cheering section stares in absolute disbelief. Contact. Hikoichi jerks awake and hurriedly apologizes, unsure whether he truly leaned on her. Nayu cannot answer. They sit inches apart, both hearts pounding so loudly that the silence becomes almost unbearable. The spectators are torn between sympathy and disappointment as Hikoichi repeatedly slaps himself awake. He is terrified of troubling Nayu again, but his determination also destroys any chance of another accidental moment between them. Exhaustion wins once more and Hikoichi begins to sway. The commuters silently urge him toward Nayu's shoulder, only for his head to drift in the opposite direction. Wrong way. He wakes as the train approaches his station and realizes he has somehow survived without leaning on her again. The warm sunlight and steady rocking remain dangerous, so he searches for a safer solution. Hikoichi finally rests his head against the window and sleeps peacefully. The three passengers are devastated that he has solved the problem like a sensible gentleman, while Nayu sits beside him with the missed opportunity painfully close. The university student refuses to give up and remembers a sharp curve just beyond the tunnel. If the timing is right, centrifugal force could push the sleeping Hikoichi away from the window and straight toward Nayu. He calculates the train's speed and predicts the exact moment of contact like a strategist planning a battle. The manager begins to feel the approaching force. The trap is set. As the carriage enters the curve, Hikoichi's sleeping body slowly lifts and drifts across the seat. The spectators silently scream for him to keep moving. Just a little farther. The curve throws everyone sideways at once, sending the three schemers crashing into each other while Hikoichi bumps against Nayu again. He wakes in panic and apologizes, unaware that an entire operation just collapsed behind him. Now fully awake, Hikoichi realizes he leaned on Nayu twice and assumes she must hate him. He imagines her choosing another seat forever, and the shame becomes far worse than his exhaustion. Then Nayu gently touches his sleeve and tells him they have reached Sakuranomiya. Hikoichi is startled that she remembered his stop, especially because she is not getting off there herself. He hurries toward the closing doors, then glances back in disbelief. Nayu hides behind her book, equally flustered, while the commuters realize that she has been paying close attention to his routine. Hikoichi leaves the train smiling because Nayu knew exactly where he needed to get off. She blushes behind him, pleased that she helped. The three spectators nearly explode with joy. Progress at last. Hikoichi's morning horoscope promises that a cancer will grow closer to the person beside them if they take the first step. He clings to the prediction and enters the train, determined to be brave. When Nayu appears, Hikoichi rehearses a perfectly normal plan. Greet her, thank her for waking him yesterday, and finally continue their interrupted conversation. She hides behind her book, equally tense. Nayu sits beside him, and Hikoichi forces out a good morning before beginning to mention yesterday. The words are awkward, but the courage behind them is unmistakable. Something is finally moving. Then the same Ganshin-loving older man appears and cheerfully celebrates meeting Hikoichi again. The interruption lands at the worst possible second, leaving both teenagers and all three spectators stunned. The older man reveals that he is also a Cancer, and happily assumes the horoscope brought him closer to Hikoichi. He launches into game talk while Nayu watches from nearby, her own chance quietly disappearing. The commuters finally notice Nayu standing close by with a deeply flushed face. She had clearly wanted the seat beside Hikoichi, but the old gamer claimed it first. No one can openly chase him away. A terrifying possibility forms in the observers' minds. Nayu may decide the two boys are friends, stop approaching, and leave the older man beside Hikoichi every morning. Their beloved romance could stall completely. Meanwhile, Hikoichi and the gamer become excited over a limited Ganshin event and the story of Shion and Aoi. Nayu listens from the side, trembling because she knows the subject too, and still cannot join in. Hikoichi admits that this is the first time he has ever spoken so freely about Shion. His delighted smile sounds almost like a confession, though it is aimed at the older man instead of the girl who longs to hear it. Nayu steels herself. She knows Shion too, and she could enter the conversation if she simply spoke. Now the opening is there. Her courage shakes, but she steps closer. As the older man invites Hikoichi to play together next time, Nayu wonders whether she will keep watching from a distance forever. If she wants anything to change, she must act before the moment passes. The gamer asks whether Hikoichi always rides the same train and offers to match his schedule. Nayu and the three spectators freeze, imagining the older man permanently occupying the seat meant for her. Hikoichi answers that he does take this train every morning. In that instant, the choice seems to stand between the easy companionship of a fellow gamer and the silent girl he truly wants beside him. Nayu suddenly turns toward them just as Hikoichi begins to explain himself. Their eyes meet across the older man's shoulder, and both are caught completely off guard. The words stop halfway out. The misunderstanding resolves when the older man admits he only rides this early a few times each month. Relief floods the carriage, but Hikoichi and Nayu are left blushing over the strange moment they almost shared. The commuters praise the chaotic gamer for granting their wish after all, only to discover a new problem the next day. Nayu is now too embarrassed to sit beside Hikoichi. Progress has somehow pushed them farther apart. After the previous day's embarrassment, Hikoichi and Nayu sit beside each other in complete silence. No explanation is needed. Every regular passenger can feel the tension hanging in the air. A powerful smell suddenly fills the carriage. Someone has brought a hot sausage and egg muffin onto the train. Hikoichi and Nayu both notice it immediately, and their carefully controlled expressions begin to crack. The tempting aroma makes both students restless. They fidget, glance around, and try to ignore their hunger, while the commuters wonder why a simple breakfast sandwich has shaken them so badly. Then both stomachs growl almost at the same time. Hikoichi and Nayu freeze beside each other, each terrified that the other heard everything. The secret audience hears it perfectly. Hikoichi regrets skipping breakfast, while Nayu curses the diet that left her hungry. Each feels relieved when another growl seems to come from elsewhere, never realizing that both are fighting the same humiliating battle. The commuters call it a wonderfully natural piece of youthful romance, and begin listening even more carefully. Unfortunately, focusing on the sounds only makes them think about food, and their own hunger soon awakens. The three spectators struggle to silence their stomachs, reasoning that an audience must never interrupt the performers on stage. Yet the smell is fading, breakfast is long gone, and their self-control is weakening fast. The university student starts imagining teriyaki burgers, fries, and cola until everyone is nearly delirious. They desperately search their bags for anything edible before their stomachs betray them in front of the young couple. The office lady finds a packet of gummies, only to discover it is completely empty. Hikoichi briefly considers opening his lunchbox, but eating now would spread another smell and leave him with nothing for noon. Just when the carriage seems unable to get any hungrier, a passenger boards carrying hot curry. The rich aroma erupts through the train. Everyone's restraint shatters at once. No. Hikoichi and Nayu tremble beside each other, refusing to be the first whose stomach growls again. The commuters recognize it as a brutal endurance match, but they are suffering just as badly. The manager finally asks whether the adults can really leave the children in such misery. They wanted to watch a sweet romance, not humiliate two hungry teenagers, so the group considers stepping in. Remembering that spectators can also support the people on stage, the manager decides to offer food. It is a kind idea, but approaching two strangers with breakfast on a train may look extremely suspicious. He proudly reveals a fresh morning sandwich, yet the others immediately realize Hikoichi and Nayu would never accept food from an unknown man. Their rescue plan dies before it even begins. The students try drinking water and tea to quiet their stomachs, but growls erupt all around the carriage. The commuters accuse the curry carrier, and suddenly the entire train shares the same embarrassing hunger. Hikoichi and Nayu hear everyone else's stomachs and finally laugh, relieved that they were never alone. Because the whole carriage suffered together, their disappears, and another small bond forms without a word. When an elderly passenger boards with heavy luggage, Hikoichi immediately gives up his seat and helps secure her bags. Nayu watches him closely, recognizing the same quiet kindness that first made her notice him. Now standing beside Nayu instead of sitting, Hikoichi discovers how different she looks at eye level. He usually sees only her profile, and the new closeness makes every glance feel far more dangerous. Both teenagers begin stealing looks through the train window's reflection. Each tries to remain unnoticed, yet every turn of the head nearly exposes them. The commuters recognize the familiar dance instantly. The three spectators attempt to provide a silent running commentary, while also hiding their own excitement. They warn one another not to turn around too quickly, because Hikoichi and Nayu could catch them watching. Standing side by side makes the difference between them impossible to ignore. Hikoichi notices Nayu's smaller hands and shoulders, while she becomes conscious of his height, broad frame, and strength. The manager grows nostalgic and remembers the clumsy love songs he once wrote for a classmate. His companions immediately drag him back to reality before his old memories overwhelm the actual romance in front of them. The university student believes the reflection has created the perfect opportunity. Unlike before, Hikoichi and Nayu can finally see each other's expressions from a distance. Surely today they will understand the truth. Their eyes meet in the glass. Both instantly look away, then steal another glance while the spectators struggle to keep their own faces under control. Everyone is watching everyone now. For the first time, Hikoichi and Nayu are truly face to face while standing together. Their eyes meet again, and Hikoichi can barely believe that the girl of his dreams appears to be watching him. Nayu looks his way once more, making Hikoichi wonder whether her attention could mean something. The observers reach the same conclusion and begin overthinking every tiny movement with renewed hope. Then Hikoichi notices that her gaze is slightly off. Nayu is definitely focused on something near him, but not directly on his face. The romantic interpretation begins to collapse. Her eyes remain fixed above his shoulder. The commuters realize there is something else in the carriage, and their excitement turns into alarm as Hikoichi prepares to move. The object of Nayu's attention is a praying mantis perched near Hikoichi. The spectators warn him not to turn suddenly, while the elderly passenger thanks him and prepares to leave at the next stop. Before getting off, the old woman innocently tells Hikoichi and Nayu that they can sit together again. Both teenagers turn bright red, each still believing the other had been staring moments earlier. They hurry to deny that anything happened, but neither can explain the blush. The elderly woman smiles as though she understands far more than they do, and leaves them alone with the awkward silence. Hikoichi and Nayu sit together once more, hearts racing from the misunderstanding. Watching from afar, the manager asks the old woman what she saw. Her knowing smile says enough. Two elementary school girls board the train and begin discussing a boy named Kazama. One explains that a classroom seat change placed her beside him, while Hikoichi and Nayu quietly recognize their own situation in the story. The girls talk about classmates switching seats and the possibility of a first love. Hikoichi and Nayu listen with growing interest, both surprised that children can discuss feelings more openly than they ever could. The commuters notice that the high school pair are now behaving exactly like their own secret audience, smiling, listening, and following someone else's romance. For once, Hikoichi and Nayu have joined the peanut gallery. Sitting peacefully together, Hikoichi and Nayu feel content simply sharing the same space. The office lady understands that happiness perfectly, though the elementary school conversation is about to challenge such passive affection. The observers cherish the teenagers' quiet smiles and wonder whether even unspoken, unrequited love can be beautiful. Their romance may be slow, but every small moment still feels precious. Then one child delivers a harsh warning. Being satisfied beside someone means nothing if another person can swoop in and take them away. Hikoichi and Nayu's expressions freeze. The point hits home. The university student admits that two people can love each other and still never end up together. What began as childish dating talk suddenly becomes painfully relevant to the silent couple, listening nearby. Realizing the adults are paying attention, the elementary school girls become even more confident and mature. They speak with the smug authority of veterans, while the commuters struggle to accept how far ahead these children seem. The girls debate whether boys prefer being spoiled or doing the spoiling, then describe Kazama as popular and flirtatious. Hikoichi and Nayu listen in stunned silence, wondering what kind of upbringing produced such fearless advice. One girl claims boys who shower someone with gifts and remember anniversaries are the most fun to handle. Even the supposedly innocent Okuti agrees, sending the commuters into despair as the teenagers absorb every word. The elementary romance discussion overwhelms Hikoichi and Nayu so completely that they appear mentally defeated. Then the spectators notice their hands moving. They are taking notes. Both teenagers silently admit that the children are far ahead of them and begin recording the romantic techniques being discussed. Pride no longer matters. They are desperate to learn. The commuters watch in amazement as Hikoichi and Nayu study these tiny masters of love. By throwing away their embarrassment, the two may finally gain enough knowledge to move forward. A fatal flaw becomes obvious. Each is learning tactics to use on the person sitting directly beside them. It is like performing a magic trick for someone who already knows the secret. Far too obvious. The conversation reaches its climax when Okude asks how her friend made Kazama confess first without confessing herself. Hikoichi, Nayu, and every nearby adult lean in, expecting an outrageous masterstroke. The answer is wonderfully simple. During lunch duty, she secretly gave Kazama an extra piece of meat. Hikoichi and Nayu are stunned by such direct kindness, and quietly sit a little closer than usual. Golden Week transforms the normally quiet commuter train. Families and holiday travelers fill the carriage, creating a brighter, noisier atmosphere far removed from Hikoichi's usual school day routine. Hikoichi still catches the 6:58 train despite having club practice much later. His friend Kirishima joins him, casually discussing his college-aged girlfriend, and wondering why Hikoichi insists on traveling so early. The answer is obvious to the three regular spectators. Hikoichi came hoping to see Nayu, but she is absent during the holiday, leaving him visibly lonely beside his far more confident clubmate. Kirishima notices that Hikoichi has recently become interested in love and romance, subjects he normally avoids. When he presses for an explanation, Hikoichi panics and denies that anything unusual is happening. Trying to protect his pride, Hikoichi claims he has plenty of romantic experience. The commuters recognize the bluff immediately, while the university student explains how easily male bravado appears when dignity feels threatened. According to the university student, an inexperienced boy may puff himself up rather than admit he is falling behind. Hikoichi charges into the lie like a tiny dog challenging a much stronger opponent. Run. Kirishima accepts the boast and asks for dating advice, complaining that his usual outings have grown stale. Hikoichi desperately suggests an aquarium, while the spectators realize he has wandered far beyond his actual knowledge. The conversation escalates to high-end restaurants, wine convertibles, movies, and birthday surprises. Hikoichi tries to sound experienced, yet his careful answers reveal more research than reality. The bluff is barely surviving. Kirishima asks what happens when a date suddenly wants to hold hands. Hikoichi forces another confident answer, looking so painfully innocent that the watching commuters can hardly endure how adorable he is. At last, Kirishima calmly asks how long Hikoichi plans to continue the charade. He's seen through every exaggerated claim from the beginning. Hikoichi's false confidence collapses instantly. Embarrassed but finally honest, Hikoichi admits there really is someone he likes. The confession is not meant for Nayu, yet the three spectators react as though they have witnessed a major breakthrough. He explains that the girl first seemed like an ordinary fellow passenger, but soon he could not stop watching her. He wonders about her name, whether she has a boyfriend, and how he might finally speak to her. Hikoichi begs Kirishima to teach him how to approach a girl he has never even spoken to properly. For once, there is no bluff. Only sincere fear and determination. Kirishima agrees to help. Kirishima is surprised that Hikoichi has so little experience, then claims the only thing he can teach is how to flirt. The commuters recoil, worried that the serious boy has chosen a dangerously unreliable mentor. His first suggestion is brutal. Talk to 10 or 20 girls until one shows interest. Hikoichi protests that treating people like disposable chances would break their hearts, proving he is far too sincere for such tactics. Kirishima drops the act and reassures Hikoichi that he is already a good, likable person. If the girl has truly noticed him, she may already know that too. Hikoichi blushes at the possibility. Kirishima promises to keep Hikoichi's secret and offers a shoulder if the confession ends badly. Then, with unsettling accuracy, he suggests that the mysterious girl may appear on this exact train tomorrow morning. The three commuters are horrified that Kirishima seems to understand everything without ever joining their group chat. He casually says he does not want to interfere in another person's love life, confirming just how perceptive he is. After Golden Week, Hikoichi and Nayu finally sit together again for the first time in a week. Their excitement builds, until a passenger in a gray hoodie gets up and unknowingly leaves his phone behind. Hikoichi notices the abandoned phone and cannot ignore it. He grabs it, leaps from his seat, and rushes after the man while Nayu and the spectators watch the long-awaited moment slip away. He catches the owner on the platform and returns the phone just in time. The good deed succeeds. Then the doors close, leaving Hikoichi outside as Nayu's train pulls away without him. The passengers mourn the cruel turn as Hikoichi stands bewildered on the platform. After waiting all week to sit beside Nayu, he loses the entire morning because he chose to help a stranger. Nayu rides on alone, clearly disappointed. While Hikoichi regrets the timing but knows he could not have abandoned the phone, he vows that tomorrow he will finally secure the seat beside her again. The next morning, Hikoichi reaches his usual place, only for the Ganshin-loving man to sit beside him first. Hikoichi smiles genuinely during their game talk, making it impossible for anyone to resent the friendly interruption. Though the older man has done nothing wrong, Hikoichi privately feels disappointed that Nayu is not there. Since seats cannot be reserved, he decides the only solution is to leave home even earlier tomorrow. Another morning brings one empty seat and a group of concert-goers politely arguing over who should take it. Hikoichi gives up his own place, sacrificing yet another chance to sit beside Nayu. The observers call the act both noble and disastrous. Hikoichi's kindness makes him admirable, but his inability to assert himself may become a serious weakness in a romance where every opportunity is already fragile. When Kirishima hears the story, he jokes that Hikoichi should ignore everyone or pretend to sleep. Hikoichi admits the truth. Whenever he thinks Nayu may be watching, he cannot bear to look uncool. Kirishima insists that giving up a seat is exactly what makes Hikoichi cool. The conversation leads Hikoichi to think about the countless strangers who pass through the same train every day. Among all those passengers, he and Nayu merely happen to sit together. He still does not know her name, and nothing promises she will appear tomorrow. The uncertainty makes his slow approach feel painfully urgent. Hikoichi knows her boarding station and waits each morning for the doors to open, but he cannot control whether she arrives. All he can do is keep showing up, remain himself, and hope. At last, Nayu enters and takes the seat beside him again. Hikoichi tries to hide his relief, while the three spectators celebrate the simple victory they have been waiting days to see. At last, Hikoichi and Nayu are seated together with no one between them. Their three self-appointed guardians celebrate quietly, but the crowded carriage still feels like hostile territory. One interruption could ruin everything, so the passengers make a solemn decision. Anyone who gets in the pair's way will be handled personally. Their mission is absurdly dramatic, yet their determination is completely real. Today, nobody will disturb these two. Hikoichi and Nayu sit shoulder to shoulder, both pretending to be calm while their hearts pound out of control. Around them, the manager, office lady, and university student watch like bodyguards. Their peaceful time must be protected. Chapter 10 begins with the manager recalling his old reputation as a guardian, only for the university student to ask the obvious question. Who are they even fighting? Protecting a shy couple on public transport sounds simple. It is not. The train suddenly sways, and Hikoichi's elbow brushes Nayu's. Both freeze as if the tiniest touch were an electric shock, then pull back while desperately hiding their embarrassment. The spectators can only sigh. They need to get used to this. Sitting so close makes both teenagers wonder what it would feel like to call each other by name. Because they attend different schools, nearly everything about the other remains mysterious. That distance is frustrating, but also strangely exciting. Then the careless passenger from before begins dropping his belongings again. Knowing Hikoichi will immediately abandon his seat to help, the three guardians launch themselves into action and start gathering every item before he can move. Not this time. They return the man's planner, lip balm, and scattered possessions in a frantic burst of teamwork. Hikoichi and Nayu stare at the strange adults in confusion, then blush as they remain seated together. The operation succeeds. A new threat appears when two aggressive older fans stomp into the carriage searching for seats. With both of Hikoichi and Nayu's places in danger, the guardians brace themselves for the worst. Reinforcements are needed. Before the pair can surrender their seats, two young men stand and invite the elderly passengers to sit instead. The guardians recognize kindred spirits immediately. These strangers have unknowingly protected Hikoichi and Nayu, comrades. Just as the crisis ends, the loud Ganshin enthusiast marches down the aisle asking everyone about the franchise. The guardians panic because one long conversation with Hikoichi could destroy the entire morning. He is getting closer, but the man walks straight past Hikoichi and enthusiastically questions someone else about their favorite Ganshin character. The three guardians stare in stunned relief. Even this troublesome fan has become an accidental ally. Next, Hikoichi's friend Kirishima suddenly appears on the same train. The passengers fear another disaster, but he never approaches the pair and soon transfers at Sakuranomiya. Somehow, Hikoichi and Nayu survive every obstacle and remain together until the stop. As the train announces Sakuranomiya, Nayu notices a student identification card left on the seat. The photo belongs to one of the boys who just got off. There is no time to hesitate. Hikoichi is already walking along the platform when a voice calls after him. He turns startled, while everyone inside the carriage watches Nayu rush toward the open doorway with the forgotten card in hand. She is finally speaking first. Nayu returns the student ID across the platform, placing herself face-to-face with Hikoichi outside their usual silent routine. Behind the train windows, every passenger erupts with excitement. Their careful protection has produced something better than a quiet ride. A real conversation. For the first time, Hikoichi and Nayu look directly at each other outside the train. Neither can hide the shock or the blush. Inside the carriage, their three supporters nearly stop breathing. Nayu explains that he dropped his student ID on the seat and holds it out with trembling hands. Hikoichi accepts it, stammering his thanks, while she insists it was no trouble. A few ordinary words. A huge step. Before either of them can continue, Nayu's friend rushes over and warns that the train is about to leave. Nayu hurries back aboard, and Hikoichi watches the doors close with his heart still racing. Now he knows she has friends, and she chose to help him. As the train pulls away, the passengers excitedly connect the clues. This Nayu's friend called her by name, while the student card revealed Hikoichi's. At last, the two mysterious teenagers are no longer nameless strangers. The names echo in both their minds: Hikoichi Hoshino, Nayu Himeori. Each quietly repeats the other's name, smiling behind a hand as if they have received something precious. The following morning, the three guardians whisper excitedly while Nayu sits nearby. Hikoichi boards, finds a seat, and prepares to thank her properly. He has rehearsed the words. Now he only needs courage. That evening, the manager, office lady, and university student meet at a restaurant after work. After weeks of silently sharing the same obsession, they finally introduce themselves and laugh over the strange bond created by one shy boy and girl. Drinks are raised immediately. The others demand every detail about how the university student discovered Nayu's name, and the table erupts in celebration. Their anonymous alliance has officially become a friendship. Hikoichi later explains to his own friends that Nayu found his dropped student card, left the train, and personally returned it. He still cannot believe she went so far for him. The encounter feels too perfect to be coincidence. It is not only the name that makes Hikoichi happy. Knowing that Nayu is the kind of person who notices someone's lost property and chases after them changes how he sees her. His feelings deepen quietly. The adults, meanwhile, are far less restrained. One drunkenly complains that the scene ended before the romantic journey truly began, and insists Hikoichi should simply ask Nayu her name. Then the discussion spirals into wild matchmaking advice. Someone suggests searching for Nayu on social media. If Hikoichi knows her name in school, they argue he might find her account and create an opening to speak with her directly. The idea sounds simple. Hikoichi admits he already searched and found nothing. His friends are stunned, but the internet offers no useful trace of Nayu Himeori. Even with her name in hand, she remains just out of reach. The adults propose increasingly ridiculous methods, asking friends from other schools, singing love songs with altered lyrics, fortune-telling, or secretly combining their names to test compatibility. Their enthusiasm has completely escaped reality. Hikoichi's friends are no better. They notice he has written Nayu's name on his eraser and tease him mercilessly. But beneath the jokes lies one honest conclusion. If he wants to know her, he must ask her himself. One friend considers finding her contact information through acquaintances, then decides against interfering. Knowing Hikoichi, he will eventually take the next step in his own awkward way. All they can do is wait. That night, both teenagers stare at empty search results on their phones. Neither can find the other online, so they quietly decide to stop forcing the issue and simply treasure the moments they already share. Step by step, yet neither truly stops searching. Hikoichi and Nayu make one last attempt from their bedrooms, only to sigh in defeat at the same time. Knowing a name has changed everything, and somehow nothing. Alone in the dark, each whispers the other's name for the first time: Nayu-chan, Hikoichi-kun. The words feel dangerously intimate, even when no one else can hear them. The next morning, they sit together again but are far too embarrassed to speak. Both hide behind their sleeves, trying to calm their racing hearts, while the passengers celebrate surviving another tense ride and plan drinks after work. Hikoichi and Nayu continue repeating each other's names only inside their hearts. sitting close but separated by shyness. Elsewhere, the three guardians stumble from one bar to another, now fully united by their shared romantic obsession. A rainy morning brings fresh trouble. The office lady arrives drenched, while Nayu realizes she forgot both her towel and handkerchief. Water clings to her hair and uniform. Hikoichi notices. Without making a grand speech, Hikoichi offers Nayu his own towel. She accepts with a stunned blush, and every passenger nearby reacts as if he has proposed marriage. The rain has created an opening. Nayu carefully dries her hair with Hikoichi's towel, while he wonders whether lending it was too forward. Then she catches its familiar scent and presses the fabric closer. Her face turns red, very red. The guardians silently bless the rain for bringing them this miracle. They debate whether Nayu will wash the towel before returning it, while the university student points out that any return would create another chance for conversation. Someone suggests that exchanging the towel could even lead to contact information, but the others know Hikoichi would probably say she does not need to return it. He is kind to a fault, and terrible at creating romantic opportunities. Nayu, however, is too responsible to keep something she borrowed. She plans to wash and return it properly. After Hikoichi leaves the towel with her, she quietly inhales its scent again and smiles before realizing what she is doing. Sitting beside him, Nayu secretly notices that the towel carries the smell of Hikoichi's home. It is warm, unfamiliar, and strangely comforting. Then Hikoichi turns toward her. He catches her with the towel close to her face. Nayu jerks away in panic, while Hikoichi begins wondering whether it smells strange. Both hearts accelerate for entirely different reasons. Hikoichi becomes convinced that Nayu sniffed the towel because something is wrong with it. Nayu, meanwhile, realizes how suspicious she must look. Around them, the passengers struggle not to scream. A horrible possibility enters Hikoichi's mind. Perhaps his towel smells bad. He lifts it cautiously, dreading the answer, while Nayu searches desperately for an explanation that will not reveal how much she enjoyed the scent. Nayu knows the truth but cannot say it aloud. The guardians invent excuses involving fabric softener and perfume, even preparing to distract Hikoichi if necessary. The situation is seconds from collapse. At last, Nayu blurts out that she smelled the towel because it smells really good. She nearly adds, because it's Hikoichi's, but catches herself halfway, too close. Hikoichi, still flustered, tells her she does not need to wash it. Nayu refuses and promises to return it clean, then apologizes for acting strangely. Her sudden movement brings them face to face. Inside Nayu's mind, the unfinished confession continues. It smells good because it belongs to Hikoichi. She cannot possibly say that, not yet. Trying to recover, Nayu explains that the towel simply carries a different fabric softener scent from the one used at her home. Hikoichi accepts the answer, never realizing she almost called him Hikoichi-kun aloud. Nayu finally thanks him clearly for the towel, and Hikoichi relaxes. The passengers notice how close she came to using his first name and nearly lose control. But the pair make it through the rainy morning without discovering their secret audience. The next day, Hikoichi reflects that things with Nayu have been going surprisingly well. At school, his classmates begin discussing an upcoming birthday, and he remembers a recent conversation about gifts. Another opportunity may be coming. When friends ask what someone plans to do for a birthday, Nayu overhears the conversation from nearby. She sees Hikoichi speaking with a handsome boy and immediately wonders who this unfamiliar person is. The handsome classmate cheerfully promises to make his girlfriend's birthday unforgettable. Nayu, who only catches part of the exchange, stares in confusion while the passengers react, as though a new romantic rival has appeared from nowhere. The guardians panic over the possibility that the attractive boy could be Nayu's boyfriend, while Hikoichi's group calmly continues its discussion. The misunderstanding grows because everyone is watching from a different angle. Soon the truth becomes clear. The boy is merely asking advice for his own girlfriend's birthday. Nayu relaxes, and the passengers learn that Hikoichi's classmate is devoted to someone else. Crisis over. Then the classmate turns to Nayu and asks what kind of birthday present she would want from a boyfriend. Nayu points to herself in shock. Hikoichi listens carefully, pretending the answer is only general advice. Nayu admits that extravagant presents matter less than spending time together. She would rather play games, ride the train, or share some simple experience with the person she loves. Hikoichi absorbs every word. She continues, saying she would want to tell him herself and make the day special together. Her answer is shy but sincere. Across from her, Hikoichi is completely captivated. Hikoichi starts taking mental notes, games, trains, and time alone together. His friends tease him for looking so serious, while the passengers realize Nayu is practically describing a date without knowing it. Nayu adds that visiting an arcade would be fun, especially if they won a stuffed toy together, and he gave it to her as a keepsake. The guardians are overwhelmed. This is no longer hypothetical in their minds. A classmate casually calls her Nayu, and Hikoichi's heart jumps at the familiar name. He still thinks of her as Nayu-san, with a respectful distance he cannot yet cross. Just hearing it aloud is enough to make him blush. Nayu thinks about how much closer she and Hikoichi have become through tiny accidents. The towel, the student card, and a few awkward conversations. For a moment, she imagines what a real relationship might feel like, then scolds herself for getting carried away. She wonders how different everything would be if they attended the same school. They could share classes, learn each other's names naturally, and never struggle to find something to say. In that imagined world, closeness would be effortless. Hikoichi waits on the platform and realizes that mysteries, which once consumed him, no longer feel frightening. He now recognizes Nayu's smile, her habits, and the warmth behind her silence. Still, one final distance remains. A friend lightly smacks him and warns him not to rush. Hikoichi protests, but he understands the message. From now on, he will move forward carefully, without giving up. Nayu has the same wish. She wants to speak with Hikoichi as naturally as she does with Sakurai, yet even imagining it makes her nervous. They have come far, not far enough. Summer uniforms arrive, and the entire carriage notices. Nayu's lighter outfit makes her seem even brighter, while Hikoichi sits nearby trying desperately not to stare. The passengers are delighted by the seasonal change. At first, Hikoichi barely looks at Nayu at all. The guardians fear he has lost confidence after realizing how easily her classmates can speak with her. In truth, something more urgent is occupying him. His stomach begins making loud, painful noises under the freezing air conditioner. Hikoichi curls inward, praying Nayu cannot hear. She can. The manager immediately diagnoses a stomachache. Although his own stomach is also protesting after too many cold drinks, the others suggest getting off at the next station, but Hikoichi refuses to leave Nayu's side so quickly. Even in misery, Hikoichi wants to remain on the train long enough to see Nayu in her summer uniform. The guardians mistake his silence for romantic intensity, until they notice how desperately he is holding himself together. Nayu seems to shine in the summer light, but Hikoichi can barely appreciate it through the pain. His entire body tenses while the train continues toward the next stop. Endure. The passengers argue over whether he is cold, embarrassed, or suffering from a stomachache. Nayu quietly notices him hugging his arms, and wishes she had something warm to offer in return for the towel he once lent her. Then she chooses the only warmth available. Nayu shifts closer, hoping her body heat will help him, but immediately hides her burning face behind her hands. Hikoichi is too distracted by pain to understand what she is doing. As the train moves through tunnels, sunlight flashes across Hikoichi's face. In bright moments he looks calm. In darkness his expression becomes grim. The guardians finally realize this is not romantic tension. He truly needs a restroom. Hikoichi grabs his bag when a Satsuyu station approaches. Unfortunately, the manager has reached the same limit and plans to use the restroom there as well. Two desperate men, one tiny station. The university student remembers that Asatsuyu's men's restroom may have only a single stall. A terrible silence falls over the group. This is now a race. Everyone watches the doors, knowing that either Hikoichi or the manager will reach the restroom first. The office lady recalls the manager's earlier speeches about adults protecting children. Surely he will yield. They remind him that spectators should support the young people on stage, and that a true adult would give up food or even a toilet stall for a suffering child. The manager listens solemnly. Then he rejects the entire philosophy. Adult or child, he declares, both men must fight with everything they have. The office lady realizes his noble speeches meant nothing. Traitor. The train stops and chaos erupts. The manager shoves toward the door while the others block him and shout for Hikoichi to run. Hikoichi slips through first as the station fills with frantic yelling. Later, the manager vaguely remembers discovering that the restroom actually had 2 stalls. His heroic sprint accomplished nothing, and he sulks in the group chat for several minutes after being mocked by everyone. At school, a friend recommends a bright lip gloss to Nayu, claiming it could make any boy fall instantly in love. Nayu denies being interested in anyone, but the color is cute. She tries it anyway. Nayu insists the gloss has nothing to do with Hikoichi, even as she rushes toward the train hoping to sit beside him. The shade is subtle enough that she thinks he may not notice. He does. Throughout the ride, Hikoichi keeps glancing at her face. Nayu wonders whether the gloss is working, while the passengers confirm that his attention is definitely different this morning. Then the truth appears. A grain of rice is stuck beside Nayu's mouth. Hikoichi is not admiring her lip gloss at all. He is trying to decide whether he should tell her. Nayu mistakes his nervous staring for attraction, and Hikoichi briefly wonders why her lips seem unusually captivating. The guardians understand the real danger. If she discovers the rice too late, she will be mortified. The passengers debate whether anyone could calmly tell a crush about food stuck to her face. They agree that the situation is romantic only when the person involved is attractive. Otherwise, it is simply horrifying. Knowing Hikoichi's personality, they expect him to speak eventually. But telling Nayu directly may be the worst possible outcome, because he is the one person she most wants to impress. This could backfire spectacularly. The best solution would be for the rice to disappear before Nayu notices, or for her to discover it herself. Hikoichi searches his bag for a discreet method while the passengers silently beg him not to make things worse. His first ideas are absurd, including flicking it away with a rubber band. Thankfully, he abandons that plan and decides to guide Nayu toward the problem without publicly embarrassing her. Hikoichi takes a grain of rice from his own lunch and sticks it to his cheek, hoping Nayu will notice, understand, and check her own face. It is a brave sacrifice of dignity. Everyone else simply thinks he looks strange. Nayu stares at him in confusion, so Hikoichi points desperately toward his mouth. At last, she begins touching her own cheek and realizes what he means. The train reaches her stop. Time is running out. Nayu finally discovers the grain of rice and removes it. But in her embarrassment, she briefly wonders whether the new lip gloss somehow made Hikoichi stare so intensely. The passengers know better. Romance has nothing to do with rice. Hikoichi leans closer and softly tries to explain, while Nayu's face turns scarlet. Every unfinished word sounds dangerously intimate. The office lady silently begs him to stop before the misunderstanding causes permanent damage. At last, Hikoichi whispers the truth directly. There was a grain of rice on her cheek. Nayu covers her mouth, mortified, and the passengers recoil as if they have witnessed a public confession gone wrong. Nayu checks her reflection repeatedly, first fearing that her lip gloss has smeared and then realizing the real problem. Hikoichi watches anxiously, unsure whether helping her has made the situation better or worse. Her embarrassment explodes, but Hikoichi quickly reassures her that it is nothing unusual. The older passengers recognize the pain of youthful humiliation and decide to let her recover. For now. Soon Nayu notices that the label on the back of Hikoichi's shirt is sticking out. She hesitates. Remembering how awful it feels when the one person you want to impress notices an embarrassing detail. Then she reaches forward. Nayu quietly fixes the label for him. Her friend Himari notices that Hikoichi has helped Nayu 2 days in a row, while the passengers realize the kindness is finally flowing in both directions. Himari asks whether it is really coincidence that Nayu and Hikoichi always sit together. Nayu answers far too quickly, insisting it means nothing, but her blush tells the entire story. No one is fooled. Chapter 16 begins with Himari demanding that Nayu thank Hikoichi properly, instead of endlessly talking about the boy who happens to sit beside her. The passengers immediately support the idea. A thank you gift could change everything. Nayu remembers the towel, the student card, and every quiet kindness Hikoichi has shown her. She begins considering a small present, perhaps something purchased from a station she normally never visits. The thought alone makes her nervous. Her friends are amazed that Nayu is still discussing the same boy. She finally admits that she wants to thank him for always helping and working so hard, even if she cannot clearly explain what their relationship is. Nayu believes kindness should be repaid, but she also knows that good intentions can create misunderstandings. What is the right thing to give, and how can she offer it without revealing too much? Himari gives the simplest answer: thank him honestly for everything he does. She understands Nayu's feelings far better than Nayu realizes and encourages her with relentless confidence. Watching Nayu hide her face, Himari finds the embarrassment adorable and becomes even more invested. To the passengers, she is no ordinary friend. She is another guardian of the romance. Himari takes control of the mission, promising to help choose the perfect gift and guide Nayu through every step. The passengers crown her leader of the Nayu Hikoichi extremist faction. She accepts the role without hesitation. Nayu worries that giving Hikoichi a present might seem strange, but Himari tells her that sincerity matters more than the item itself. Then she warns Nayu to turn around. Someone is staring with terrifying intensity. Himari is already making concrete plans, from shopping routes to the moment Nayu will hand over the gift. Nayu can barely keep up. Her quiet crush has become a full-scale operation. In Himari's imagination, she becomes a charitable goddess guiding two helpless souls toward happiness. Whether Nayu wants this much assistance no longer matters. The plan is moving forward. The two girls begin their mission to find a thank you gift that will impress Hikoichi without feeling like a confession. Nayu studies every option seriously, while Himari enjoys the romance unfolding before her eyes. During their conversation, Himari asks how Nayu learned Hikoichi's name. Nayu explains the lost student card and the moment she returned it at Sakunomiya. Himari smiles and promises she will always be on Nayu's side. The passengers overhear enough to realize how fiercely Himari supports the relationship. Her enthusiasm is almost frightening. Even experienced guardians know when they have met a true extremist. On another morning, Hikoichi and Nayu sit side by side with textbooks and vocabulary cards. Both are studying for exams, creating the perfect picture of a hardworking couple, even though neither can fully concentrate. They steal brief glances while pretending to focus. To the office lady, it resembles the classic scene of two unrequited lovers studying together in a library. The train has become their shared classroom. Chapter 17 asks a simple question. Can anyone seriously study while sitting beside their crush? Hikoichi and Nayu are about to prove the answer is no. Hikoichi notices that Nayu's textbook covers material different from his own school. He becomes curious about what she is learning and peeks closer, only to realize he has stopped reading his own page entirely. He slaps his cheeks and orders himself to focus. The passengers immediately understand that Nayu has completely distracted him, while she quietly watches his strange attempt to regain control. No one believes genuine concentration is possible under these conditions. Hikoichi closes his eyes, breathes deeply, and tries to clear his mind. For a moment, it works. He begins memorizing vocabulary and formulas with renewed determination. Unfortunately, shutting out his sight only heightens every other sense. Nayu is still beside him. Her shampoo reaches him. The familiar scent destroys his concentration instantly, and Hikoichi stiffens while pretending nothing happened. The passengers misread his reaction as another stomach emergency. Nayu is equally distracted. She holds her book open but secretly checks Hikoichi's reflection, wondering whether her hair looks acceptable. Neither student is studying as much as the other believes. They highlight passages and review answers, yet each remains painfully aware that they attend different schools and may never share a real classroom. The distance makes this small study session feel precious. Hikoichi decides he wants genuinely good grades, partly because Nayu is sitting beside him and inspires him to try harder. Nayu feels the same. Even without speaking, they push each other forward. The colored study sheets catch the sunlight and reflect red and green across Hikoichi and Nayu. To the passengers, they appear to be literally shining on each other. The romantic symbolism is perfect, even if nobody remembers what the sheets are called. By the time Sakuranomi arrives, both students look exhausted. Nayu realizes she spent more time imagining what it would be like to study with Hikoichi at school than actually concentrating. He has distracted her completely. Before leaving, Hikoichi gathers his courage and suggests that they both do their best on the upcoming exams. Nayu answers with an immediate bright yes, a simple promise. Shared. As the doors begin closing, Nayu replays his words and realizes he said both of us. Hikoichi was not merely speaking politely, he also felt that they had been studying together. Her heart pounds as the train pulls away. Nayu quietly decides that hearing encouragement like that will make her give everything she has. Meanwhile, the guardians flood their group chat. Unable to focus on work or lectures after witnessing such progress, the following morning feels different. Hikoichi tried speaking to Nayu yesterday, and every passenger senses another breakthrough may be coming. Even Hikoichi's lucky fortune seems to promise a meeting. Then, bad timing approaches. Hikoichi resolves to begin with a greeting. Nothing dramatic, just good morning every day until speaking becomes natural. He spots Nayu and rehearses the words, but her stop arrives before he can act. To anyone else, greeting a classmate would be trivial. For Hikoichi, it requires enormous courage because one small step could change his whole world. He finally turns toward her. Good morning. An older Ganshin fan answers first, cheerfully returning Hikoichi's greeting. The passengers recognize the familiar disaster immediately. Once again, the loud old man has intercepted a moment meant for Nayu. The guardians explain that this ordinary man possesses extraordinary bad timing, repeatedly shaking the hearts of Hikoichi, Nayu, and everyone watching. Yet even his interruption cannot completely erase the opportunity. Another classmate, Sakurai, enters the conversation and mentions a birthday. The passengers remember him as the boy who once asked Nayu for gift advice, then realize Hikoichi's own birthday is approaching next week. Unfortunately, several conversations erupt around Hikoichi at once. The guardians must choose whether to follow Sakurai's birthday discussion, the Ganshin fans rambling, or Hikoichi's reactions. There is too much information and no way to hear everything. The old Ganshin fan suddenly speaks about not understanding his own feelings and learning what love means. Everyone freezes. Has this comic relief character become unexpectedly profound? He says that after seeing someone at lunch, he no longer knows exactly what he wants. The passengers misinterpret his words as a confession involving Nayu and Sakurai, creating a fresh wave of panic. Then the truth emerges. He has always preferred mushrooms, but watching someone enjoy bamboo shoots made him reconsider. His supposed romantic crisis is actually about food. The passengers feel betrayed. Still, the conversation gives Hikoichi a useful lesson. Whether choosing mushrooms, bamboo shoots, or love, rushing will not help. He must take small steps at his own pace. But before summer vacation separates them, with exams approaching, Hikoichi realizes he may not see Nayu for a month and a half once summer vacation begins. The guardians panic. Time is suddenly running out. The old man's strange speech contains one genuine truth. Fleeting meetings become precious because no one knows when they will happen again. Hikoichi understands that waiting forever will only make the eventual separation hurt more. Unfortunately, the old man immediately ruins the emotional mood by explaining that his true thrill comes from limited-time gacha pulls. The profound metaphor collapses into mobile game enthusiasm. He rambles about character compatibility, ice cream, and moderation, until everyone accepts that he is still the same ridiculous Genshin fan. The important conversation returns to Hikoichi and Nayu. While listening, the passengers catch another crucial detail. Nayu's birthday is also approaching. Neither teenager seems to realize their birthdays fall around the same time. The stage is set for a double birthday crisis. The guardians debate whether Hikoichi might already be choosing a present for Nayu. Their relationship may not be close enough for gifts, but feelings rarely obey such boundaries. They imagine every possible disaster. Chocolates for someone barely known, concert tickets for a person never dated, or even an absurdly premature ring. A present could become an accidental confession. Before anyone can finish speculating, both birthdays arrive. Hikoichi is shopping with his friends, trying to help one of them choose a present while quietly thinking about Nayu. His friend thanks him for coming along and jokes about buying something for a future girlfriend. Hikoichi doubts such optimism, but the friend insists that nothing changes unless someone tries. The words hit closer than intended. Hikoichi admits he could never give Nayu a birthday present now. He only knows the date because he overheard a private conversation, and their relationship does not feel close enough. Still, the thought refuses to leave him. The boys enter a trendy boutique, and Hikoichi immediately feels out of place. Surrounded by accessories and plush toys, he remembers Nayu describing her ideal birthday and wonders what she would actually like. A clerk assumes they are choosing a present for Hikoichi's girlfriend. He denies it with a flustered "not yet," then realizes he is taking the task more seriously than the friend who actually needs help. His imagination runs wild when he finds a voice-recording alarm clock. But his friends remind him that waking Nayu with his own voice would be terrifying when they are not even dating. Back to reality, Hikoichi considers sweets, accessories, cosmetics, and clothes, rejecting each option because he knows too little about Nayu's tastes. Every aisle proves how distant they still are. Meanwhile, his friend wants to fill a photo album entirely with pictures of himself and cannot decide which poses look best. Hikoichi realizes he has brought the least qualified people imaginable for romantic advice. Even so, his friends notice how seriously he is thinking. Hikoichi believes there is little hope, yet he still wants to choose something considerate. Trying matters. That is enough to keep him moving. Hikoichi's friend notices his distracted expression and asks whether he found a present for Nayu. Hikoichi denies searching for one, but the hesitation gives him away immediately. The friend tells him to stop pretending. If Hikoichi truly wants to give her something, he should choose a simple gift without attaching impossible meaning to it. A bookstore item, perhaps. Something safe. Back home, Hikoichi stares at a neatly wrapped package. Somewhere between helping his friend and imagining Nayu's smile, he took a step forward. He bought the present. The reality terrifies him. Hikoichi repeats that buying it does not mean he must give it to her, but the excuse convinces no one, not even himself. The gift is already waiting. The next morning, Hikoichi boards the train with a single decision burning in his mind. Today, he will give Nayu her birthday present. He plans the timing carefully, perhaps one stop before Sakuranomiya, or at the platform after they get off. The wrapped box feels impossibly heavy in his bag. There will be no excuse this time. Before Hikoichi can act, the younger girls from the train surprise him with their own birthday present. He accepts it with genuine happiness while Nayu watches, and the passengers wonder whether this unexpected scene will help or hinder his plan. One girl bluntly lectures him while the other tries to soften the message. Their exchange sounds almost like a scolding, but beneath the harsh words lies sincere concern about giving presents to people one barely knows. Hikoichi insists he is not in the situation they are describing, yet their comments strike directly at his fear. He still has not offered Nayu the gift. The guardians urge him onward. Maze argues that giving a birthday present to someone unfamiliar can be terrifying because the recipient may misunderstand everything. Her severe expression makes the warning sound like a courtroom verdict. Ocute answers that sometimes feelings become so strong that a person wants to reach out despite knowing very little. That desire itself reveals the truth. She really is in love. Mace claims that such words can seize someone's heart instantly, and the passengers realize these girls have already lived through more emotional drama than expected. Their childish appearance hides surprising experience. The adults apologize for underestimating them, but Maze reminds everyone that they are no longer elementary students. They are middle schoolers, now. A very important distinction. Maze explains that past disappointments forced her to become cautious. A confession from a stranger would only make her suspicious. She wants a relationship built with someone trustworthy enough to deserve her gift. Still, she promises that when the right person catches her off guard, she will respond with everything she has. Hikoichi listens closely, while Nayu quietly absorbs the same lesson. Ocute smiles and tells Maze that her birthday will surely be wonderful. The sincerity between the girls leaves Hikoichi and Nayu speechless, and gives both of them courage. Maze immediately hides her embarrassment behind dramatic talk of emotional barriers. The passengers tease her mature vocabulary until she reminds them once again that she's in middle school, not a child. Later, Hikoichi remembers the girl's words. Maybe a present does not need to be a confession. Perhaps it can simply show that he cares. He reaches for the package again, but the moment passes, and Hikoichi returns home still holding the unopened gift. He could not find the right timing. Nayu never knew how close he came. That night, he refuses to surrender. Tomorrow offers another chance, and if everything goes well, he will finally hand it to her. He wonders what expression Nayu will make. The guardians sympathize with the misery of unrequited love, where even a sincere gift can arrive at the wrong moment. Yet bad timing is not defeat. Another opportunity may appear. The next morning, Hikoichi enters the carriage and finds Nayu sitting alone with an empty seat nearby. He grips the present in his bag. The opportunity has arrived. He walks toward her as the departure announcement echoes through the train. Nayu looks up, surprised, while the doors begin to close behind him. The train pulls away with an unusually quiet carriage, leaving Hikoichi and Nayu facing each other. The passengers recognize the miracle instantly. Nothing stands between them now. Both teenagers turn bright red under the pressure of the silence. They cannot look away, yet neither knows where to begin. The guardians frantically message one another, trying to explain the impossible scene. Hikoichi and Nayu sit directly across from each other, stealing glances and panicking whenever their eyes meet. The empty space that should make conversation easier somehow makes every heartbeat louder. Nayu hides behind her notebook while Hikoichi pretends to examine the window. Their glances cross again and again. Even the group chat cannot contain the passengers' excitement. Hikoichi realizes he cannot keep avoiding her gaze forever. A chance like this may never return. He holds the present and prepares to speak. Instead of immediately offering the gift, Hikoichi begins with the smallest possible step. He tells Nayu it is a strange coincidence to meet on the night train like this, and wishes her a good evening. Nayu answers with a shy smile, admitting the coincidence feels almost unbelievable. The first genuine conversation between them begins, and the passengers nearly explode with joy. They both apologize for speaking so suddenly, then laugh at how awkward the apology sounds. This is no longer a silent exchange of glances. They are truly talking. Hikoichi and Nayu try to continue at the same time, interrupt each other, and immediately apologize again. The moment is clumsy, nervous, and perfect. Neither wants it to end. Their first real conversation stalls almost immediately. Hikoichi and Nayu sit in silence, both searching for words while the train rattles around them. The opportunity is perfect. Their minds are empty. Hikoichi has countless things he wants to say, yet fear locks them inside. He remembers how miserable the morning commute once felt, and how seeing Nayu transformed it into the best part of every day. His feelings have only grown. Nothing would make Hikoichi happier than speaking with Nayu as naturally as her classmates do. The passengers silently beg him to use any conversation starter available, even an advertisement, because this chance may never return. He worries that the morning train is their only shared connection. Nayu attends a more prestigious school, reads different books, and seems to live in another world. Hikoichi searches desperately for one genuine common interest. Then he notices the keychain hanging from Nayu's bag. It belongs to Genshin, the same online game he loves. A doorway opens. Hikoichi reacts so loudly that Nayu jumps. He apologizes immediately, explaining that the keychain simply surprised him. His heart pounds, but now he finally has something to ask. He points toward the charm and asks the question that could save the entire conversation. Does she like Genshin? Nayu's face brightens instantly. Yes, she loves it. The silence disappears. Hikoichi and Nayu excitedly compare favorite characters, story progress maps, and recent updates. They even share the same affection for Shion's playful side. For once, conversation flows without effort. The old Ganshin fan follows the exchange from afar, while the Guardians complain that he is neglecting his commentary duties. Hikoichi and Nayu barely notice. They are too busy laughing together. As Nayu's stop approaches, Hikoichi finally remembers the gift. He begins thanking her for waking him, returning his student card, and helping him through every awkward moment. Nayu insists she owes him just as much. Hikoichi reaches into his bag and offers the wrapped box. He calls it a simple thank you for everything she has done. His hands tremble. Would you please accept this? Inside his mind, Hikoichi denies that the gift is a confession. He tells himself the conversation merely created a good opportunity to express gratitude. Yet his burning face says otherwise. He finally admits the truth to himself. If it were only a thank you gift, he would not have been devastated each time he failed to give it. He wants Nayu to be happy. He wants to be part of her birthday. Hikoichi extends the present again, hoping this small gesture might bring them one step closer than before. The carriage seems to hold its breath. Nayu is shocked. She argues that Hikoichi has always been the one helping her, even getting off the train to retrieve his student card only after she found it. In her eyes, she has done nothing worthy of a gift. Overwhelmed, Nayu initially refuses. Hikoichi panics, realizing that he may have pushed too hard, and begins apologizing while wondering whether he has ruined everything. Then Nayu reveals the real reason. She cannot simply accept his present, because she is the one who should be giving him a gift. She has also been carrying something for his birthday. Nayu confesses that she bought it after they became closer through Ganshin, although she was too shy to hand it over. Just like Hikoichi, she had hidden sincere feelings behind the excuse of gratitude. She gathers her courage, lifts her own package, and asks whether he will still accept her thanks. The answer is already written across Hikoichi's stunned face. For a moment, they simply stare at each other's gifts. Then both reach forward at once. The exchange finally happens. They awkwardly insist neither present is specials and decide to call it a mutual thank you exchange. The label is safer than birthday gift. Even though both understand it means much more, Hikoichi receives Nayu's carefully wrapped package, while she accepts his plaid box. Their hands tremble around the gifts. Neither can stop smiling. Himeshiro Station arrives far too soon. Nayu hurries toward the door, and both teenagers thank each other repeatedly, afraid that any unfinished word might disappear with the closing doors. From the platform, Nayu leans back into the carriage and calls, "See you next time." Hikoichi watches her vanish as the morning train continues onward. The doors close, leaving Hikoichi alone with the present pressed to his chest. He is too stunned to move. The train keeps rattling forward. That night, Hikoichi sits in his room wondering whether the entire conversation was a dream. He truly spoke with Nayu. They exchanged gifts. It happened. He carefully opens the package and becomes excited by the handmade-looking wrapping, then warns himself not to assume too much. Receiving anything from Nayu on his birthday already feels impossible. Inside, Hikoichi finds a set of bookmarks. The gift is simple, useful, and chosen with quiet attention. Nayu remembered that he often reads during the morning commute. At the same time, Nayu opens Hikoichi's present and realizes he selected bookmarks for her as well. She wonders whether he noticed her reading habits and whether this thank you gift was secretly meant for her birthday. Separated in their rooms, both teenagers hold the gifts close and silently wish the other a happy birthday. Hikoichi-kun, Nayu-san. Hikoichi discovers that Nayu gave him homemade cookies, while Nayu treasures the bookmarks he chose for her. Neither managed a direct birthday confession, but their feelings reach the other anyway. The old Ganshin fan later boasts about youth and dreams of joining in next year's birthday celebration. The others tell him to stop behaving like an ageless hero. For Hikoichi and Nayu, however, this birthday has already become unforgettable. The next morning, Hikoichi and Nayu exchange a proper greeting as soon as they meet. Even the empty seat beside Nayu feels like an invitation. Their voices are still shaky, but the ritual has begun. The passengers can hardly believe it. Hikoichi and Nayu are greeting each other naturally, like people whose relationship has quietly crossed an invisible line. The manager claims the gods are finally watching over them. Yet an awkward atmosphere remains after the gift exchange. The old Ganshin fan asks what happened yesterday, while the manager refuses to explain and urges Hikoichi to speak before the chance disappears. Chapter 23 begins with Hikoichi and Nayu thanking each other again for the presents. Both insist it was their pleasure, creating a loop of gratitude that makes everyone watching suspicious. The Guardians finally understand. Each teenager independently brought a birthday gift, and disguised it as a thank you present. Without knowing the other's plan, they reached the same conclusion. It is more than coincidence. The old man, who missed the crucial exchange while chatting online, cannot follow the excitement. Hikoichi quietly praises Nayu's cookies, and she thanks him for the bookmarks. Their reactions are unmistakably warm. Hikoichi asks whether anyone has ever tasted cookies this delicious, then immediately pretends they are only ordinary thank you sweets. Nayu reacts just as nervously. Neither is good at hiding anything. Nayu admits these were the best cookies she has ever made, and worried constantly that Hikoichi might dislike them. He reassures her immediately, while she begins using his bookmark with obvious care. Both teenagers hide behind the harmless phrase, "thank you gift," refusing to reveal the feelings packed inside. Their true intentions are obvious to everyone except each other. A suffocating psychological battle begins. Hikoichi notices that Nayu is already using the bookmark and asks whether she likes it. Nayu says yes and promises to protect it from damage or dirt. Her enthusiasm shocks him. She confesses that she kept looking at the bookmark and thinking of the moment he gave it to her. Hikoichi admits he also waited eagerly to learn her reaction. The guardians ask the obvious question, how are these two still not dating? Hikoichi explains that he struggled to choose a gift but eventually decided the bookmark would suit Nayu. The personal compliment slips out naturally. Nayu freezes. Hearing him say that something suits Nayu-san sends her heart racing. She tries to answer properly, but every word begins sounding like a confession. Hikoichi becomes equally flustered. The old Ganshin fan asks whether Nayu often makes sweets. She says only when the mood strikes, and Hikoichi sincerely repeats that the cookies were excellent. Their praise becomes increasingly intimate. Both retreat behind the same defense. Hikoichi was only being sincere, and Nayu was only expressing genuine thanks. There is no hidden meaning, none at all. They must not misunderstand. The passengers can no longer tolerate the denial and silently demand that the pair start dating already. Summer vacation is approaching, and time is running out once more. Hikoichi wonders whether he will meet Nayu again after summer begins. The thought of losing their morning routine makes every remaining ride feel painfully important. Even during the break, both continue using the same train and secretly hope to encounter each other. They pretend it is accidental, but their eyes search every carriage. One morning, Nayu finds Hikoichi nearby but separated by another passenger. She tells herself that merely sharing the train should be enough, if only they could speak. The distance is tiny, yet the stranger between them might as well be a wall. Hikoichi and Nayu sit close, each painfully aware of the other, so near, still unreachable. Both consider changing seats, but the crowded carriage makes every movement awkward. They fidget in silence while the guardians beg one of them to act. Hikoichi decides he must talk to Nayu at least once, before summer vacation fully separates them. Nayu makes the same resolution. The passenger between them remains completely unaware of the emotional crisis. Nayu watches the man beside Hikoichi and realizes he may leave at the next stop. If that seat opens, she can finally move closer. Hope returns. The man stands as the station approaches. Hikoichi and Nayu prepare to speak, and the guardians celebrate the opening. The path is clear. Then the passenger checks the station sign, realizes it is not his stop, and sits back down. Every hopeful expression collapses at once. False alarm. He rises again, but only to stretch his aching back. The guardians nearly scream. This stranger has become an accidental master of emotional torture. As more passengers board, the crowd pushes Hikoichi and Nayu closer despite the seat between them. Their physical distance shrinks, but speaking becomes even harder under so many watching eyes. At last the man truly gets off, only after the train has already reached another station. Hikoichi and Nayu have almost no time left. The guardians order them to use the opening immediately. The crowded carriage shifts, placing Nayu directly in front of Hikoichi. He looks up and finds her closer than ever before. The rest of the train fades away. They exchange a nervous good morning greeting, while the guardians fidget helplessly nearby. Hikoichi and Nayu are finally face to face. Now they only need to continue. Both begin commenting on the strange day, then fall silent under the weight of their own heartbeats. Every possible sentence disappears. What should they say now? Hikoichi's mind goes blank again. But this time the silence is no longer unbearable. Nayu remains in front of him, waiting, and the passengers recognize the awkward pause they have been hoping to see for months. Their conversation turns towards summer. Beaches, fireworks, festivals, swimming, and countless seasonal events fill the imagination, but for Hikoichi and Nayu, simply sharing the train may be enough. Summer break begins with an unexpected enemy, a packed commuter train. Hikoichi and Nayu are forced to the same crowded space, while the passengers complain that someone has stolen the boys' usual spot again. The crowd pushes Hikoichi beside Nayu, placing them closer than ever. Nayu admits she is happy to spend part of summer riding the same train, even if they are not traveling together for any special reason. With voices and footsteps surrounding them, the two can barely hear each other. They apologize repeatedly, lean closer, and struggle to continue the conversation without being separated by the moving crowd. Hikoichi notices how cramped Nayu is and offers to shift, creating a little more space for her. The gesture is small, but she understands exactly what he is trying to do. Another surge of passengers pushes them together. Their hands hover inches apart, and both become painfully aware of every movement. The summer carriage feels hotter than it should. The train grows even more crowded at the next stop, squeezing Hikoichi and Nayu shoulder to shoulder. Neither can retreat, neither truly wants to. Their fingers nearly touch on the hanging straps. Hikoichi and Nayu glance at each other, then quickly look away while the guardians stare in stunned silence. A sudden jolt throws Nayu backward. Hikoichi braces himself against the wall and shields her from the crowd, trapping them in an accidental wall lean pose that leaves both speechless. Nearby, the manager and another passenger fight over a single strap like children. Their ridiculous struggle breaks the romantic mood and earns them a public scolding. When an elderly passenger boards, Hikoichi and Nayu immediately offer her a seat. Their kindness surprises her, and she thanks them warmly while the guardians admire the pair's natural generosity. The adults continue arguing over who deserves the empty seat, only to realize that Hikoichi and Nayu gave it away without hesitation. The younger pair once again prove more mature than everyone watching. Standing together, Nayu asks whether Hikoichi has morning practice during summer break. He says his club trains every day, giving him a reason to ride this exact train throughout the vacation. Nayu reveals that she also uses the same morning train for summer classes. Their schedules match almost perfectly. What seemed like a coincidence begins feeling like a promise. Both teenagers realize they may continue meeting every morning despite the school break. Hikoichi tries not to show how happy the news makes him. Nayu fails just as badly. As long as Hikoichi can still see Nayu during summer, the season no longer feels like a separation. Simply knowing she will be there makes him genuinely happy. One humid morning, cicadas scream outside the train. The passengers joke that summer has officially arrived, unaware that one of those insects has already entered the carriage. A cicada suddenly appears near Hikoichi and Nayu. Nayu stiffens in terror, and even the supposedly brave adults recoil. The tiny creature becomes the most dangerous enemy on the train. Someone explains that a cicada can remain still for ages before launching itself without warning. Right on cue it moves. Panic erupts. The manager reaches forward with theatrical confidence, claiming he will escort the insect off the train. Nayu clings closer to Hikoichi, while everyone waits for the self-proclaimed hero to act. The cicada flies directly toward the manager. His courage disappears instantly, and the entire carriage erupts as he screams louder than anyone else. The insect circles the passengers, turning the train into a battlefield. Even the manager abandons his dignity and prepares to flee at the next station. When the cicada approaches Nayu, she hides against Hikoichi without thinking. He feels her trembling beside him and makes a decision. He will protect her. Hikoichi is terrified too, but he refuses to let the cicada reach Nayu. If someone must stand between them, it will be him no matter what. Nayu quietly reminds him that the insect is not attacking anyone on purpose. Together, they search for a way to guide it safely out of the train instead of hurting it. The office lady reflects that a cicada's life above ground is painfully short. It should be singing beneath the summer sun, not trapped in a crowded carriage. Even the panic softens for a moment. Hikoichi spreads a large handkerchief and prepares to catch the cicada gently. Nayu watches with admiration, recognizing the kindness that made her fall for him in the first place. He blocks the insect's path, protecting both Nayu and the cicada at once. What began as a ridiculous battle becomes a quiet act of compassion. Then the cicada launches itself and lands on Hikoichi. Everyone freezes. Hikoichi's heroic plan has reached its most terrifying stage. Using the cloth as a broad surface, he manages to catch the insect without crushing it. The passengers realize he has found the safest solution possible. Somehow it works. The cicada is released, and the morning train returns to normal. As the doors open at a new station, a giant advertisement for Captain Kara's fried chicken announces the next strange chapter. Chapter 27 begins with an enemy no one expected. The overwhelming aroma of freshly fried chicken. No new passenger enters the carriage, yet everyone is instantly under attack. A fried chicken shop has apparently opened near the next station, and its scent drifts straight through the train. Hikoichi and Nayu try to ignore it. Their stomachs answer together. Both immediately deny making the embarrassing sound, even though neither believes the other. The spectators understand perfectly. No one wants to look ravenously hungry in front of their crush. Nayu has worked hard to appear kind, composed, and devoted to Ganshin. Becoming known as the girl who is always starving would destroy that image. Hikoichi is just as desperate to protect his dignity. Trying to act casual, they discuss the famous chicken sold near the station. Nayu describes the warm, fluffy meat and its perfect saltiness a little too vividly. Her imagination takes over. The imagined chicken becomes so real that Hikoichi can practically taste it. Nayu apologizes when her stomach betrays her again, while even the older Ganshin fan admits the smell is getting to him. Then the three matchmakers quietly open packets of crackers. Crunch after crunch fills the carriage. They claim it is harmless, but to two starving teenagers, it feels like deliberate retaliation. Those tiny snacks complete the picture inside Hikoichi and Nayu's minds, transforming a vague craving into a flawless fried chicken feast. Their restraint collapses. The fantasy is now unstoppable. At that exact moment, the older Ganshin fan reappears carrying a shopping bag. The others hope he might finally distract the pair from their hunger. Instead, he reveals something far more dangerous. He proudly pulls out a Ganshin collaboration set from K-Turkey fried chicken. Hikoichi and Nayu stare at the package in stunned silence. Of all possible merchandise, it had to be this. The collector explains that one final purchase will earn him a limited edition folder, so he intends to devour an entire chicken feast. Steam rises. The two starving fans can only watch and drool. Then he turns toward them and offers to buy both of them the collaboration meal as fellow Ganshin fans. Hikoichi and Nayu freeze. The three secret matchmakers nearly explode with joy. One invitation is all it takes. Soon, Hikoichi and Nayu are sitting across from each other in the restaurant, smiling over pieces of fried chicken. Against all odds, they are eating together. They both want to accept, yet immediately worry about summer classes, money, and whether going together would look like a date. Around them, the adults silently scream the obvious answer. Just go. Unfortunately, the collaboration set has already sold out. The older fan apologizes, but the matchmakers refuse to let the opportunity die over a collector's folder. Ordinary chicken will do. And so the crisis ends with Hikoichi and Nayu sharing a warm meal beneath the restaurant lights. Their hunger is finally satisfied. More importantly, they have stumbled into another precious moment together. After the weekend, Hikoichi boards the train with a deep tan and a painful sunburn. Nayu notices immediately. The matchmakers, naturally, begin wondering what kind of club could have worked him so hard. Hikoichi admits he is neither especially strong nor ambitious. He simply enjoys spending entire days with his friends, practicing from morning until night. Nayu smiles. Hearing that makes her strangely happy. The adults know he is underselling himself. Hikoichi has been riding this early train since long before meeting Nayu, and he works seriously at everything. Still, summer can change even the quietest student. That thought is interrupted when two younger girls, Meiz and Okuti, appear nearby discussing a boy with an equally dramatic tan. For one alarming second, everyone suspects a full summer vacation makeover. The description sounds uncannily familiar. Clumsy, kind-hearted, and working hard at his club. The passengers decide the mysterious boy is practically a miniature Hikoichi. Surely his tan is innocent too. Then the girls repeat the boy's explanation. He is not ambitious, not particularly tough, and merely spends all day having fun with friends. It is almost word for word what Hikoichi just said. Meiz worries that the boy's new look means something has changed, while Okuti insists he is not the type to reinvent himself over summer. Their conversation begins to overlap perfectly with Hikoichi and Nayu's. Okuti tries to reassure her by declaring that the boy is hopelessly inexperienced with girls, and therefore still in his cutest phase. Somehow, every attempt at encouragement only makes Meiz more anxious. Before the misunderstanding can settle, two unfamiliar boys approach Meiz and Okuti. Summer is the season when insecure people try reckless things. The matchmakers tense as another romantic disaster begins. The boys attempt to act like smooth playboys, but their invitation to study kanji immediately exposes them as painfully serious children. Okuti seems delighted. Meiz, however, is not impressed. The real reason for Meiz's unease soon emerges. She once gave a boy a birthday present, and now she cannot tell whether his recent behavior means her feelings reached him at all. Everyone watches as the misunderstanding reaches its breaking point. The train goes silent. Then someone rushes forward before the situation can get any worse. A young boy appears and fiercely declares that Meiz is precious to him, refusing to let strangers speak to her casually. His dramatic entrance shocks everyone, including Meiz, who realizes he has been nearby all along. He confesses that he lied about tennis club. The tan came from doing extra work at home so he could save enough money to take Meiz somewhere special. All that suspicion came from one clumsy secret. Meiz is relieved, but she does not let him escape without consequences. Since his intervention drove the other boys away, she demands that he take responsibility for fixing the situation between them. Her solution is wonderfully practical. He can begin by helping gather material for her picture diary. The adults praise Mace's maturity, then remember she and her friends are still elementary school children. Watching their tiny romance gives Hikoichi courage. Lately, things with Nayu have gone well. He gave her a birthday present, and they now greet each other every morning. Maybe he can move forward. One more step. That is all he needs. If he can gather enough courage, perhaps he will finally learn whether Nayu might feel the same way. Hikoichi makes his decision. Today he will ask Nayu to go for tea with him. The matchmakers hear everything. A small invitation suddenly feels like a monumental first move. The next morning, his heartbeat is so loud that the entire carriage seems to hear it. Hikoichi can barely return Nayu's greeting, while the spectators become nervous on his behalf. He begins carefully by asking about her summer classes, hoping to discover when she is free. Nayu answers honestly, but Hikoichi's rehearsed plan immediately starts falling apart. She explains that weekday lessons end in the evening, and that weekends are usually open. The perfect opening appears. The adults silently beg him to take it. Then Nayu remembers weekend practice matches. Hikoichi panics, and she hastily adds that some weekends are still free. Both are trying to help. Neither knows how. Hikoichi refuses to surrender. He changes direction and asks whether she ever visits cafes. The matchmakers lean forward. He has somehow found his way back onto the track. He describes a charming cafe with beautiful desserts, admitting that he has wanted to visit but feels awkward going alone as a boy. Then, almost whispering, he asks whether she would be okay joining him. Nayu completely misses the invitation and reassures him that plenty of men visit cafes alone. Hikoichi thanks her automatically. The spectators nearly collapse. She is too dense. Inside, Hikoichi wonders how much more direct he must be. Asking her to tea alone feels dangerously close to confessing his love. His thoughts tangle until even he no longer knows the difference. One terrifying solution flashes through his mind. Just tell her he likes her. The words nearly escape. Nayu notices his panic, and everyone braces for an accidental confession. Hikoichi gathers himself and begins again, warning Nayu that his request may be sudden and put her on the spot. This time, the entire carriage believes he is finally going to say it. Instead, he asks which desserts she recommends from the menu. The confession vanishes at the last second. It is a retreat, but at least he stayed standing. Nayu leaves believing that Hikoichi simply loves cafes. Yet she quietly wishes they could visit one together someday. While convincing herself she could never be brave enough to invite him, the matchmakers are horrified to discover an even bigger problem. Despite all these mornings together, Hikoichi and Nayu still have not exchanged contact information. Their romance remains unbelievably fragile. Summer carries Hikoichi away from the familiar morning train and onto a crowded beach with his friends. He cannot stop thinking about Nayu. Meeting every morning may be routine, but meeting here would mean something more. Chapter 30 opens with Hikoichi surrounded by loud teammates, blazing sun, and beachside chaos. This is his ordinary world now. Romance feels very far away. His friends chatter about food, girls, and every possible distraction while Hikoichi struggles to keep up. Then someone points out a beautiful black-haired girl nearby. His attention snaps toward her. For one breathless moment, he wonders whether Nayu could actually be at the same beach. He insists he is not searching for her. His eyes continue searching anyway. Hikoichi admits something uncomfortable to himself. Despite all their shared mornings, he and Nayu have barely held a normal conversation. If he truly wants to grow closer, he must change. One friend offers brutally simple advice. When something feels impossible, practice until it does not. Hikoichi understands the logic. Unfortunately, the suggested practice involves talking to girls. The friend proposes that they approach women together and pick them up. Hikoichi recoils instantly, while the others treat the ridiculous mission like a heroic training exercise. Their self-appointed instructor marches ahead, promising to clear a path while Hikoichi follows behind. The plan is absurd. Worse, everyone seems genuinely committed to it. He spots a woman with beautiful black hair and charges forward with a confident greeting. Hikoichi watches in horror, praying that this stranger is not connected to anyone he knows. She turns around. It is the boy's mother. The entire performance dies instantly, and Hikoichi realizes his friend's romantic instincts may be even worse than his own. Undeterred, the boy tries again with a glamorous blonde. She is his aunt. Another bold approach collapses before it begins. A third attempt ends with yet another relative, his older sister. By now, the training session has become a family reunion wrapped in public humiliation. After surviving the disaster, Hikoichi's friend claims the experience still teaches confidence. Hikoichi remains unconvinced. especially when the lesson seems to involve flirting badly and escaping quickly. Even the imaginary matchmakers would reject such crude pickup lines. Still, they might help someone learn to speak without freezing. The method is terrible. The underlying problem is real. Hikoichi refuses to assume every girl thinks the same way. Yet he cannot deny that fear controls him. Somewhere in the crowd, another familiar presence may be closer than he realizes. The summer festival grows packed, and Hikoichi suddenly loses sight of his friends. At the same time, someone calls for Nayu through the crowd. Two paths begin moving toward each other. Hikoichi and Nayu pass through the festival separately, each thinking that perhaps their next meeting outside the morning train will finally prove their connection is more than coincidence. Fireworks bloom across the night sky while both of them pause beneath the same light. They do not quite find each other. Still, both feel it. Someday they will. Back on the morning train, their routine resumes. Nayu quietly reads a novel, and Hikoichi keeps stealing glances at the cover, wondering what kind of story can hold her attention so completely. Hikoichi goes out and buys the exact same book. He tells himself that curiosity is enough reason, but the truth is obvious. He wants one more thing they can share. The matchmakers are delighted. Instead of forcing conversation, Hikoichi is trying to understand something Nayu loves. It is awkward, earnest, and unmistakably romantic. They recognize the feeling immediately. When someone matters, even unfamiliar hobbies become inviting. Hikoichi is not merely reading a book. He is stepping into Nayu's world. Love makes people foolish in the most endearing ways. A tiny interest becomes a major decision, and one shared title feels almost scandalously intimate to everyone watching. Even if Nayu never notices, Hikoichi decides the reading will not be wasted. Perhaps learning why she loves the story will help him understand her a little better. The next morning, he sits beside Nayu with the book held stiffly in front of his face. Reading should be simple. Reading the same book beside your crush is not. Before he can settle down, another boy reveals that he is reading it too. Hikoichi's private gesture suddenly looks ordinary, and an unexpected rival appears without even realizing it. The newcomer is completely innocent, cheerfully discussing the story while Hikoichi panics beside him. He has no idea he has stepped directly into another boy's carefully prepared moment. Then the rival produces the same brand of tea Nayu likes. Hikoichi looks devastated. The coincidences are piling up faster than he can compete with them. Refusing to lose to chance, Hikoichi removes the book cover and openly reads the same novel beside Nayu. This is his quiet declaration. He is interested too. Yet when the moment to speak arrives, he slips the book back into his bag. The matchmakers stare in disbelief. His courage has retreated again. They eventually realize why. Hikoichi respects Nayu's reading time and does not want to intrude on something she clearly treasures. His silence is not indifference. It is consideration. The train continues toward the station while Hikoichi searches for another opening. He has not abandoned the idea. He is simply waiting for a moment that feels right. As he reads, Hikoichi compares himself with Nayu. She attends a prestigious school, follows games and trends, and seems to live in a world far above his own. Their differences suddenly feel enormous. Yet those differences are exactly what pull him closer. Hikoichi turns the thought over quietly. Perhaps he wants to know more about Nayu because so much about her remains unfamiliar. The platform grows crowded, but Hikoichi stays seated to finish a few more pages. He tells himself he can catch the next train. Then someone stops directly in front of him. Hikoichi looks up. Nayu is standing there, watching him with wide eyes. For once, they have met outside their usual seats and without the morning routine protecting them. Nayu's friend calls for her, but before leaving she notices the character keychain on Hikoichi's bag. Flustered, he admits he recently became curious about the game. Nayu recognizes the character immediately, and asks when he started caring about games. Hikoichi explains that he only wanted to understand what the excitement was about. She listens closely. Then she notices he is more fascinated by the bookmark hidden inside her novel than by the story itself. Hikoichi has been caught, completely. At the station, a poster announces an upcoming fireworks festival by the sea. Nayu imagines going with Hikoichi, then dismisses the thought as impossible. Her heart refuses to agree. A few mornings later, a girl steps into the carriage and softly calls Hikoichi by name. Everyone turns. Even Nayu freezes. Hikoichi recognizes her as Itsugai, someone he never expected to meet again. The matchmakers immediately demand answers. Who is this beautiful girl, and why does she know him so well? The truth lands like a bomb. Itsugai is the former girlfriend of Hikoichi's old friend Kirishima, and she knew Hikoichi in middle school. Their reunion is innocent. It does not look innocent. An awkward silence spreads between them while Nayu watches from behind her book. The adults misread every glance and begin wondering whether Itsugai might somehow be Hikoichi's own ex. Itsugai casually mentions that she and Kirishima broke up 3 years ago. The matchmakers nearly lose their minds, while Hikoichi struggles to understand why Nayu suddenly looks so tense. Nayu studies Itsugai's mature appearance and begins wondering whether this is Hikoichi's preferred type. She knows the relationship is long over. Jealousy arrives anyway. Without realizing it, Nayu adjusts her hair to resemble Itsugai's style. The matchmakers spot the competition instantly. Hikoichi, seated in front of her, notices nothing. Itsugai reflects that her middle school romance was childish and self-centered. Now that she is older, she believes she could build a far more mature relationship. Nayu hears every word. That statement sounds alarmingly like a desire to reunite with Kirishima. Nayu panics, the adults panic harder, and Hikoichi decides blunt honesty may be the only way forward. He asks whether Itsugai still has lingering feelings for Kirishima. The question is tactless but necessary. Beside him, Nayu realizes how frightened she is of losing the person sitting next to her. Until now, Nayu believed simply being beside Hikoichi was enough. But if she never acts, someone else could appear and take him away. That thought finally breaks through her hesitation. Itsugai answers with a teasing question. What would Hikoichi say if she wanted Kirishima back? Everyone stops breathing. Then she reveals the real request. Itsugai has a new boyfriend, and she wants Hikoichi to tell Kirishima that she is happier now than she ever was with him. The entire romantic crisis collapses into one enormous misunderstanding. Itsugai laughs at Koichi's worried face, while Nayu hides behind her book, humiliated by how quickly jealousy controlled her. Yet the scare leaves something behind. Nayu can no longer pretend that merely sitting beside Hikoichi will satisfy her forever. Her feelings are changing. She knows it now. Several days pass without a chance to speak privately. Ganshin fans and other friends keep occupying the carriage, and Nayu cannot bring herself to mention the misunderstanding. Then Himari boards with Sakurai. Seeing them together gives Nayu an idea. She asks both friends for advice about a delicate situation involving someone she supposedly knows. Nayu insists there is no trouble and no need to worry. She only wants their opinion about a friend. The matchmakers immediately realize that this mysterious friend is obviously Nayu herself. She describes Hikoichi's awkward cafe conversation. A boy admitted he felt nervous entering a stylish cafe alone, then mentioned a place he wanted to visit. Only later did she wonder whether he was inviting her. Other memories return, the karaoke lyrics, the long detour home, the strange kindnesses she once dismissed. Perhaps those moments meant more than she allowed herself to believe. Everything now depends on Himari and Sakurai's answer. The matchmakers know one careless word could either push Nayu toward Hikoichi or send her retreating for another month. Himari smoothly suggests that even without hidden meaning, Nayu should simply go with him. If someone looks nervous about visiting alone, kindness makes the choice obvious. Nayu cautiously asks what desserts are good at the cafe. Her friends notice the detail and finally ask whether this supposed friend is a boy or a girl. The disguise begins to crumble. Seeking a male perspective, Nayu asks Sakurai whether the conversation sounded like a date invitation. He boldly declares that a real man would call it a date from the start, despite being utterly unqualified to speak for all men. Himari finally asks the question Nayu has been avoiding. Is this mysterious friend actually in love with the boy? Nayu recoils so violently that everyone receives the answer before she speaks. Sakurai adds that understanding the relationship she wants is essential. Does she want romance, friendship, or simply more time beside him? Nayu cannot answer immediately. Then she stops them. Dating is not what she was trying to ask about. Not yet. Her feelings are real, but naming them still feels far too frightening. Nayu explains that she simply wants to know Hikoichi better. She wants longer conversations, ordinary moments, and the freedom to talk without depending entirely on the morning train. More than anything, she wants to become his friend in the same natural way she is friends with people at school. She wants to visit places with him, not just sit nearby. Himari and Sakurai finally realize the truth. This story was never about an imaginary friend. It was about Nayu from the beginning. The secret is out. The next weekday morning, Hikoichi and Nayu return to their usual carriage. Their greetings remain awkward, but something important has changed beneath the familiar routine. The older Ganshin fan watches from a distance, once again losing the perfect seat while romance unfolds without him. He may miss the action, but he refuses to stop observing. Hikoichi remembers how Nayu gradually became part of his daily life. From distant glances, to shared seats, to genuine conversations. Without noticing, they have already come remarkably far. Now Nayu has openly said she wants to be friends outside the train. Hikoichi recognizes the opportunity immediately. There is no chance he can let it pass. He arrives absurdly early, and searches the carriage for the ideal seat, determined to create a better chance to speak with her. This is preparation on a heroic scale. Unfortunately, hardcore Genshin fans are already lining the platform, coordinating seats and messages with military precision. Hikoichi has entered a battlefield he never knew existed. When Nayu finally arrives, both exchange trembling greetings while the spectators analyze every expression. Hikoichi tries to act normal. His face betrays him instantly. The veteran fans tap messages at impossible speed, organizing positions around the carriage. Hikoichi realizes that securing one quiet seat beside Nayu may require defeating an entire network. Then a mosquito begins circling between them. Hikoichi raises a hand, Nayu tracks it, and every romantic plan is replaced by one urgent mission: kill the insect. Nayu lunges after it and accidentally grabs Hikoichi's arm. They freeze inches apart, the mosquito escapes, but the carriage erupts in silent celebration. The observers toast without exchanging a word, convinced they have witnessed progress. Hikoichi and Nayu, meanwhile, are too embarrassed even to look directly at each other. The brief contact sends both teenagers into complete panic. Hikoichi nearly screams, Nayu hides her face, and the veteran passengers calmly enjoy the chaos they created. The older fan finally invites Hikoichi to join the adults in watching the two awkward youngsters from a safe distance. Their matchmaking club has become disturbingly organized. He offers simple support instead of pressure. Hikoichi can join them and watch things unfold at his own pace. The others agree. For once, no one tries to shove him forward. Hikoichi admits that their speed is overwhelming. He wants to enjoy these feelings slowly, without forcing every moment into a confession. Surprisingly, the adults respect that answer. The next morning, however, everyone returns early and battles for the best seats anyway. Their promise of patience lasts exactly one day. During a quieter conversation, Hikoichi mentions a science fiction novel recommended by a friend. Nayu brightens and immediately recommends one she loves. A genuine shared interest begins forming. Nayu wants to ask whether he also enjoys sweets and cafes, while Hikoichi searches for a natural way to continue talking. Both are carrying the same question. Neither says it. She finally mentions a dessert shop that her friends praised, although it is far from their usual stations. Hikoichi listens carefully. This could become the invitation they failed to make before. Both almost suggest visiting together. Both retreat at the last second and settle for agreeing that the place sounds good. The landing is right there. They still miss it. Even without an invitation, their connection has become more personal. They are no longer strangers who happen to meet on a train. They are actively learning how to enter each other's lives. Their first attempts at messaging quickly become chaotic. The observers spam animated stamps, emotions explode across the screen, and the idea of a calm digital conversation disappears. Hikoichi explains how exchanging IDs and accepting a friend request allows people to become connected instantly. Nayu understands the process. Pressing the button is another matter. The stamp war grows so intense that even the matchmakers demand mercy. Beneath the noise, however, Hikoichi and Nayu finally have a way to reach each other beyond the train. They sit shoulder to shoulder, both staring at their phones and pretending not to be desperate. From the outside, the situation already looks unmistakably like a date. Nayu begins securing the same seat every morning and wonders whether Hikoichi deliberately chooses the place beside her. The possibility fills her with hope, and just as much fear. Nayu finally mentions the Kameda coffee shop near Sakuranomiya Station, several stops away. Hikoichi the opening he has been waiting for, and wonders whether she might truly choose to spend time beside him. The invitation becomes real. Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, outside the Kameda coffee shop. Hikoichi accepts, stunned that Nayu has taken the step neither of them could manage before. His imagination races ahead, picturing Nayu waiting beneath the cafe sign and smiling when he arrives. The possibility feels almost too perfect to trust. Nayu, meanwhile, imagines the same meeting from her side. If she is truly there waiting for him, then their connection will finally exist beyond the morning train. Saturday arrives. Hikoichi reaches the station at 7:45, far earlier than necessary, and tells himself he only needs enough courage to take the first step. Standing outside Kameda Coffee, he decides what he wants most. Not a dramatic confession, but a real friendship with Nayu. Something that can grow naturally from here. He rereads the message again and again, checking the station, time, and cafe name. Everything appears correct. Still, his heartbeat refuses to slow. Then the manager spots Hikoichi outside the cafe. By outrageous coincidence, one of the secret matchmakers has arrived at the exact location of their first meeting. The coincidence multiplies. The office lady and university student are nearby as well, each claiming innocent weekend plans. Their matchmaking squad has somehow assembled without coordination. A horrifying detail emerges. Sakuranomiya Station has two Kameda coffee shops, one at the east exit and another at the west. Everyone stares at the signs. Disaster. The adults search frantically for Nayu while Hikoichi waits at one entrance. Somewhere on the opposite side of the station, Nayu is doing exactly the same. Hikoichi stretches and scans every face, convinced Nayu will appear at any moment. Nayu watches the other entrance with equal hope. They are separated by a station and one terrible assumption. 8 o'clock passes. Then 8:07. Hikoichi and Nayu continue waiting, each believing the other is merely delayed. Neither wants to give up first. By 8:48, the cafe has grown quiet. Hikoichi wonders whether he should have taken their usual morning train instead, while Nayu stares at her untouched drink. After 9, doubt begins replacing excitement. Nayu fears she misunderstood everything and feels embarrassed for expecting too much. Hikoichi remains absent because he is still waiting elsewhere. Hikoichi finally questions the location and realizes there may be another branch. At the same moment, the older fan confirms the east and west exit mistake. The truth arrives painfully late. The matchmakers stop being spectators. They shout the correct location and urge Hikoichi to run. Whether Nayu notices him waiting no longer matters. He has to reach her. Phones come out, Dex directions fly, and the adults coordinate from both sides of the station. For once, they are not merely watching the romance. They are fighting to save it. Nayu pays in a hurry and leaves, ashamed that she waited so long. Hikoichi races through the crowd toward the other cafe. The distance between them finally starts shrinking. They rush past stairways and entrances, nearly crossing without seeing each other. One wrong turn remains enough to destroy the meeting completely. Hikoichi reaches the correct Kamita coffee shop and finds the table empty. The silence tells him he is late, far too late. A staff member confirms that Nayu was there only minutes ago, paid quickly, and ran toward the station. Hikoichi turns before the explanation is even finished. Nayu is still nearby, moving through the crowd while replaying the failed meeting in her head. Hikoichi searches desperately, refusing to let her disappear again. The station plaza swallows them among hundreds of strangers. They call out, turn corners, and scan every passing face. Somehow they remain just beyond each other's sight. On the train, finding one person feels simple because the same seats and carriage guide them together. Here, surrounded by the city, Hikoichi realizes how easily Nayu can vanish. Both reach the same desperate conclusion. They no longer care about embarrassment, timing, or misunderstandings. They simply want to see each other. Hikoichi briefly runs into Kirishima, who is startled by his frantic appearance. Hikoichi barely stops to explain before continuing the search. A fireworks festival poster catches his eye and reminds him of all the chances they nearly shared. Hikoichi promises himself that if another opportunity comes, he will not waste it. Elsewhere, the story shifts to a crowded shopping district, where someone searches anxiously for a girl named Xian. Voices and footsteps make every direction feel uncertain. Xian quietly observes from a secluded position, while the people looking for her grow increasingly worried. She has hidden herself well, but she has not stopped hoping to be found. At last, someone spots her beneath the city lights and calls her name. Xian turns, tears gathering as relief breaks through her guarded expression. Back with the morning train passengers, the cafe incident still hurts weeks later. The office lady openly sobs over how close Hikoichi and Nayu came to meeting, while everyone waits for their next chance. Weeks after the failed cafe meeting, Hikoichi and Nayu still sit beside each other without speaking. The office lady collapses in despair, convinced their growing friendship has been reset to zero. Both teenagers want to apologize, yet neither knows how to begin. Without contact information or confidence, a simple misunderstanding becomes an invisible wall between them. Away from the train, Hikoichi unexpectedly runs into Kirishima during another chaotic outing. The encounter looks accidental, but Hikoichi is carrying something far heavier than embarrassment. He finally admits the truth. Even after failing to meet Nayu, he still wants to see her. He is afraid that approaching her now will only make everything more awkward. The feeling comes out plainly. Hikoichi wants to see Nayu, no excuses, no complicated explanation, just her. Kirishima recognizes the problem immediately and pushes him to stop pretending everything is fine. Hikoichi insists he has energy to spare, but his forced smile convinces no one. Then Hikoichi notices Kirishima's battered face and asks what happened. Kirishima tries to change the subject, revealing that he is just as skilled at hiding his own problems. Hikoichi refuses to be distracted. This conversation is no longer about Nayu. He wants to know what Kirishima is dealing with and why his friend looks so exhausted. Kirishima brushes the concern aside with his usual easy smile, yet Hikoichi sees through it. Someone who constantly supports others rarely speaks about himself. Walking beneath the evening sky, Kirishima tells Hikoichi he will always be the better person between them. His words sound warm, but they also carry the weight of resignation. Kirishima leaves before the conversation can deepen. The secret matchmakers are frustrated. Both boys care intensely, yet each keeps retreating before the other can truly help. Then Himari runs after Kirishima and asks for a private conversation. She has noticed his condition too, and unlike Hikoichi, she has no intention of letting him escape. Himari begins by asking why he avoided Hikoichi and what is actually wrong. Kirishima tries to laugh it off, but her direct stare leaves him nowhere to hide. She explains that Hikoichi and Nayu are both suffering after the failed meeting. As their friend, she wants to help, and she believes Kirishima knows more than he is saying. The passengers briefly imagine Himari and Kirishima becoming a couple while solving the problem together. Himari immediately rejects the idea. Romance is not why she chased him. Chapter 37 reveals Himari's sharper side. Beneath her cheerful smile is someone fiercely protective of her friends and perfectly willing to confront anyone standing in their way. Even the matchmakers admit that Himari and Kirishima seem fundamentally incompatible. Himari wants to intervene before the distance grows. Kirishima believes people should solve their own problems. Kirishima politely declines her request for help. Himari's smile remains fixed, her patience does not. Their disagreement explodes. Himari insists friends should protect each other, while Kirishima argues that forcing romance can cause more harm than good. Neither will surrender. Eventually, they search for common ground. Himari presents herself as an experienced romance expert, promising that once Kirishima understands her methods, he will know exactly what to do. Her confidence quickly becomes suspicious. The matchmakers wonder whether Himari's own first impressions have ever been accurate, especially when she treats every relationship like a dramatic campaign. Himari proudly reveals that she has never been dumped after someone asked her out. The reason is less impressive. She has already survived 11 breakups initiated by herself. Kirishima immediately begs for mercy, apologizing for doubting her and offering to do anything. Himari accepts the surrender and begins planning how to reunite Hikoichi and Nayu. Himari remembers the day she first became close to Nayu. At a school event, both wanted the same melon bread, and Himari managed to buy 2 before the stall sold out. Nayu had been looking forward to that bread, but Himari's real goal was friendship. Sharing the second piece gave her the opening she needed to approach the lonely girl. That memory hardens Himari's resolve. Whether Nayu approves or not, she will stand beside her and help. Friendship sometimes means interfering before someone asks. The plan becomes simple. Bring everyone together at the upcoming fireworks festival. One shared evening may be enough to repair what the failed cafe meeting broke. Festival night arrives beneath rows of lanterns and glowing stalls. Himari announces that it is time to eat melon bread, but her true objective is bringing Hikoichi and Nayu face to face. The whole group enters the crowded festival grounds, excitement spreading beneath the fireworks. Somewhere among the lights, 2 awkward teenagers are about to receive another chance. The food stalls stretch farther than anyone can see, and the crowd becomes impossible to navigate. Sakurai is immediately lost, while the others struggle to keep the group together. Nayu, overwhelmed by the festival and embarrassed by her own excitement, nearly collides with Sakurai. She apologizes quickly, unsure where anyone else has gone. Sakurai admits he was so excited for the fireworks that he could barely sleep. Nayu understands the feeling, though her anticipation has far more to do with Hikoichi than the sky. Nayu arrives at the festival in a summer yukata, hiding her nerves behind a small fan. She came for the fireworks, but every glance through the crowd searches for Hikoichi. When Himari asks, Nayu finally admits that she wants to watch the fireworks with Hikoichi. The confession is quiet, sincere, and impossible to take back. Himari refuses to let fear ruin the night. She tells Nayu to find him and watch the sky together, then deliberately steps away so her friend can move on her own. A passing friend mentions that Hikoichi has already arrived with Kirishima. Nayu's heart leaps, then her phone shows no signal. She knows he is here, but cannot reach him. The festival's perfect plan falls apart under one cruel obstacle: no service. Hikoichi and Nayu are somewhere in the same enormous crowd, separated by thousands of people in silence. Hikoichi enters the festival grounds and immediately begins scanning every yukata, ribbon, and familiar silhouette. Nayu could be anywhere. That possibility fills him with both hope and dread. He remembers promising himself to take one more step. Even in the densest crowd, there is still a chance. Hikoichi refuses to let another opportunity disappear. The memory of arriving too late at Kamita Coffee drives him forward. He wants to see Nayu so badly that standing still feels impossible. Kirishima runs through the festival as well, helping search from another direction. If another chance exists tonight, he intends to make sure Hikoichi reaches it. Hikoichi thanks Kirishima for everything and continues alone. Kirishima watches him go, certain that this time his friend will find the answer for himself. With their phones useless, the group divides the grounds into search areas. East-west, food stalls, shrine path. Every route becomes part of the rescue plan. The matchmakers call it a miracle in progress. Tomorrow Hikoichi and Neisu's relationship may finally reach a turning point. First, they must survive tonight's crowd. Hikoichi pushes through waves of festival goers, calling Nayu's name whenever the noise allows. Every dark head and floral yukata makes his heart jump. The others search too, although the crowd seems endless. They cannot even return to the same location twice. Finding one person here feels nearly impossible. Still, Hikoichi keeps moving. Unless some outrageous miracle occurs, he may never reach her, but waiting quietly would guarantee failure. He remembers the truth of their relationship. They are not strangers anymore, yet they have never given their connection a name. Tonight could finally change that. Hikoichi apologizes his way through the packed grounds, eyes racing from face to face. He knows Nayu is out there, he simply has to keep looking. A familiar figure appears ahead, and Hikoichi's breath catches. For 1 second, he is certain he has found her. Then the crowd closes and the silhouette disappears. Exhaustion whispers that he should stop. Hikoichi rejects it. If Nayu is searching too, he has no right to give up first. Then he notices a Ganshin character charm hanging from someone's bag. It is a tiny clue, but in the chaos, it feels like a beacon. The figure turns beneath the fireworks wearing a fox mask associated with Shion. Hikoichi finally understands. This is Nayu. He forces his way closer, determined to speak before they are separated again. The failed cafe meeting, the silent train rides, and every missed opportunity surge back at once. Hikoichi wonders whether Nayu is thinking the same thing, that both of them have searched long enough and cannot afford another near miss. Another burst of fireworks shakes the sky. Finding her is not going to be easy. Nothing between them ever is. Yet Hikoichi keeps chasing a future that still does not exist. Every step through the crowd is a refusal to let coincidence control the story. At last he shouts her name with everything he has. Nayu, the call cuts through the festival noise. Their paths have crossed countless times by chance, but strangers would never search this desperately for each other. Hikoichi is certain now. This is more than coincidence. Nayu hears him and turns beneath the exploding fireworks. Hikoichi reaches toward her, afraid that one more person might pass between them. His hand closes around hers. Nayu nearly drops the fox mask, stunned by the warmth and urgency of his grip. They have finally connected. The distant matchmakers hear Hikoichi's voice and realize what happened. After an entire night of searching, there is only one possible explanation. He found her. Nayu removes the mask and looks up at him, cheeks glowing beneath the festival lights. Neither knows what to say first. Hikoichi manages a trembling greeting. Nayu answers. Under a sky full of fireworks, their reunion feels less like luck and more like a miracle they created together. For a moment, the reunion feels unreal. Fireworks burst above them, the crowd blurs, and Hikoichi wonders whether exhaustion has finally turned the night into a dream. But Nayu is truly standing in front of him. After searching the entire festival, the person he wanted most is finally within reach. Their hearts pound louder than the fireworks, yet neither can form the first sentence. The matchmakers, watching from afar, silently beg them not to waste this miracle. Nayu bows and apologizes for the failed cafe meeting. She admits the mistake was hers and that she has spent days regretting the trouble she caused. Hikoichi immediately says it was not her fault alone. More importantly, he is relieved she was not avoiding him. His gentle answer loosens the fear trapped inside her. Nayu confesses that she kept postponing the conversation. Instead of asking what cafes he liked or speaking honestly, she let embarrassment control her. She explains what she truly wants. More conversations like this. Even when they are not riding the morning train. She wants their connection to exist everywhere. Then Nayu says it clearly. She would love for the two of them to become friends. The request is simple, but it changes everything. The hidden supporters erupt in celebration, screaming loud enough to rival the fireworks. After months of missed chances, the words have finally been spoken. Hikoichi tells Nayu she never needed to ask so formally. If she is comfortable with him, then he wants the same thing. He wants to keep seeing her. Still, Nayu insists on asking properly. She reaches out with trembling hands, determined to be the one who takes this step. Hikoichi accepts, equally flustered. Their hands meet for only a moment, but the contact carries every morning they spent too afraid to speak. They exchange phone numbers beneath the fireworks. Hikoichi promises to message her, while Nayu studies the new contact, as though it might disappear. Nayu says he can contact her whenever he likes. The invitation nearly overwhelms Hikoichi. Their world has suddenly expanded beyond one carriage and 20 morning minutes. The older Ganshin fan overhears fragments of the conversation and apologizes for misunderstanding. briefly assuming one of them already has another romantic partner. Confusion returns immediately. The other matchmakers scream at his terrible timing. Hikoichi and Nayu stare at them, finally realizing just how many people have been following their progress. The word friends causes another uproar. To the spectators, they nearly confessed. To Hikoichi and Nayu, becoming friends already feels enormous. Fireworks continue above the group as everyone settles down. The night has not produced a romance, not officially, but it has given them the beginning they needed. Nayu introduces herself properly. Himiori Nayu, a second-year student at Rikuei High School. After all these months, she finally gives Hikoichi her full name without fear. Hikoichi answers with his own introduction. Hoshino Hikoichi, a second-year student at Sasagawa High. He is glad to officially meet her at last. Their formal exchange feels almost ridiculous after everything they have shared, yet it marks a huge step forward. At last, their relationship has somewhere to begin. The final fireworks fill the sky, closing the festival on a quiet promise. Hikoichi and Nayu stand together, no longer strangers and no longer dependent on coincidence alone. As the crowd disperses, both rejoin their waiting friends and prepare to leave from different platforms. Even separation feels different now, because they can contact each other whenever they choose. Nayu shyly asks whether Hikoichi would like to watch the fireworks again next year. He says he would love to. Neither calls it a date. When they return to the morning train, their movements are still awkward, but now they approach each other as friends. The change is small, visible, and precious. The supporters celebrate Hikoichi's success with drinks and laughter. Everyone admits they worried the night would end in another disaster. But the boy finally pulled through. They also recognize the challenge ahead. Hikoichi and Nayu attend different schools and live separate lives, so friendship will require effort from both sides. Himari, Kirishima, and the others discuss how their own friendships formed through strange coincidences, missed signals, and repeated meetings. No relationship follows a clean path. Kirishima asks the question Hikoichi now faces: what are two people actually supposed to do after agreeing to become friends? There is no instruction manual. The answer is reassuringly ordinary. Friendship cannot be forced into a schedule. It grows through shared time, honest choices, and the willingness to stay connected. Kirishima tells Hikoichi that he does not need to transform himself. The best thing he can do is remain honest and keep showing up, as the person Nayu already chose to trust. Hikoichi appreciates the advice, but admits he still has no idea what comes next. One problem has ended. Another morning of anxious overthinking is already waiting. After the festival, everyone notices Nayu staring at her phone with a secretive smile. Hikoichi's friends tease him mercilessly, while Himari realizes the two have already begun messaging. A notification sounds, and Nayu's entire body stiffens. The others lean closer, desperate to see who contacted her. She protects the screen like a priceless treasure. The message is from Hikoichi. He thanks her for the evening, says he enjoyed the fireworks, and apologizes in advance for being slow at replying. Nayu reads every line twice. Nayu starts composing an enormous response, explaining every emotion in painful detail. Her friends stop her before she sends an essay and help reduce it to one honest sentence. Hikoichi receives her reply and freezes. Even though they are miles apart, the simple message makes him feel as though Nayu is standing right beside him. The next morning, Nayu reaches the platform first and waits beside their usual carriage. For the first time, they will ride the train as acknowledged friends. The spectators recognize the importance immediately. Nayu is about to meet the boy she chose as a friend and share the same route to school under an entirely new understanding. The doors open and Hikoichi sees her waiting. Both smile before either can speak. The awkwardness remains, but now it belongs to something real. Nayu greets him as Hoshino-kun. Hikoichi answers with a stunned good morning. Hearing his family name from her lips feels shockingly intimate. She apologizes for sending so many messages and worries she may have interrupted him. Hikoichi quickly assures her that he was happy to receive everyone. Trying to continue naturally, Nayu asks how he spent the previous evening. She says Hoshino-kun again, and the matchmakers nearly collapse from the progress. Until now, the two had spoken without directly using each other's names. The realization hits everyone at once. This is another first. Hikoichi and Nayu struggle to adjust to the new habit, circling around each name as though it might explode. Their supporters recognize the unmistakable behavior of a new couple, except they are still only friends. The matchmakers silently encourage them to keep going. If both can survive calling each other by name, perhaps ordinary conversation will finally become possible. Hikoichi gathers his courage and says, Himiori-san. Nayu's face turns bright red. The name reaches her more deeply than any grand compliment could. Then silence falls. Both have accomplished the impossible and now have no idea what to say next. The entire carriage waits with them. Nayu fears she made Hikoichi uncomfortable, while Hikoichi repeats her name privately, trying to make it feel natural. Their progress is real, so is the panic. They begin practicing, awkwardly calling each other Hoshino-kun and Himeori-san. Each repetition grows slightly easier, though never less embarrassing. The names pass between them again. Around the carriage, the matchmakers listen as if witnessing a sacred ceremony. Inside, both teenagers overanalyze every syllable, wondering whether using a friend's name should feel this intense. Neither realizes the other is thinking exactly the same thing. The spectators finally lose patience and mentally demand that they start dating already. Hikoichi and Nayu insist they must build friendship gradually. No one believes that will remain enough. The diagonal seats make conversation difficult, yet both keep trying. Now that they are friends, simply sitting in silence feels like wasting a precious opportunity. Nayu's phone vibrates. Normally she would ignore it during the ride, but hope flashes across her face before she even looks at the screen. The message is from Hikoichi, sent from only a short distance away. He cannot bring himself to speak aloud, so he reaches her through the phone instead. Chapter 43 begins with Hikoichi and Nayu secretly messaging while sitting in the same carriage. The supporters stare in disbelief. Their romance has entered the digital age. Nayu quickly understands the appeal. Passing notes through a phone feels easier than speaking beneath everyone's gaze, and their quiet conversation begins flowing naturally. When Nayu sends something special or sincere, Hikoichi's composure disappears. A few words on a screen can strike him harder than any face-to-face exchange. They trade recommendations about food, clubs, and places near their schools. Every notification carries another small piece of daily life they never shared before. Then Nayu receives a message that makes her expression change sharply. The matchmakers assume it came from Hikoichi and prepare for another romantic breakthrough. A reply arrives from a boy, and everyone watches Nayu's reaction. For one terrifying moment, it seems Hikoichi may have acquired a rival through messaging. The sender is revealed as Sakurai. Nayu's face becomes cold and unimpressed, making it obvious that this conversation carries absolutely no romantic meaning. Nayu has been exchanging messages with Sakurai for practical reasons, which is why she responds so casually. Hikoichi only now realizes how many connections exist beyond the world he sees on the train. The passengers discover that Nayu is not the only person with Hikoichi's phone number. The older Ganshin fan has it too, sending enthusiastic messages about every new event and character. Hikoichi now faces a digital doubles match, Nayu's careful messages on one side and the Ganshin fans' endless excitement on the other. Returning every reply becomes exhausting. He hesitates between the two conversations, terrified that choosing one will offend the other. Notifications continue arriving faster than he can think. Then Hikoichi chooses a third option and focuses on studying. The matchmakers stare in disbelief, while the manager praises his strangely disciplined escape. His phone battery finally dies under the pressure. Hikoichi apologizes to everyone, but the sudden silence feels almost merciful. At another station, the office lady unexpectedly encounters the university student outside their usual carriage. The meeting reminds them that their own friendship also began through repeated coincidence. Elsewhere, Himari sits beside Kirishima with study materials and struggles to ask for help. For someone usually fearless, the request is painfully embarrassing. Kirishima notices the hidden notes she has been reading and asks what is wrong. Himari realizes she can no longer pretend she does not need him. She finally admits she is falling behind and asks Kirishima to teach her. He agrees without mocking her, turning the humiliating request into something surprisingly gentle. The spectators begin wondering whether Himari and Kirishima might make a good couple after all. Their constant arguing hides an unusual level of trust. Without meaning to, Himari chooses the seat beside him and leans closer over the textbook. The physical distance disappears long before either notices. Kirishima calmly suggests they study together and tells her not to worry. Himari accepts, still suspicious of how naturally the situation developed. When he asks her to check a problem, Himari briefly misinterprets his words as a personal invitation. Her imagination races ahead before reality catches up. The request is only academic. Kirishima wants her to examine the answer, not him. The observers groan at another romantic misunderstanding. He explains the correction from a tutor's perspective, calling her mistake a near miss. Himari's confidence returns, along with her ability to argue. Kirishima tells Himari not to place him on a pedestal or assume every kind action carries romantic meaning. She is not remotely in love with him, so there is no reason to panic. Despite the awkward beginning, the two end up enjoying the study session. Their teasing grows lighter, and Kirishima looks more relaxed than anyone expected. Himari thanks him sincerely and mentions the fireworks festival. A shared memory from that night now feels warmer than either wants to admit. She says the experience made her consider letting someone closer instead of handling everything alone. Kirishima listens, unsure whether she means him. Looking back, Himari admits the fireworks festival was not bad at all. The statement is understated, but her smile reveals how much the night mattered. Then she tells Kirishima that he is one of the good guys too. Anyone who knows him would agree, she says, leaving him unexpectedly speechless. Kirishima recovers by complaining that Himari constantly interferes, asking who Hikoichi likes, chasing him about homework, and forcing herself into every problem. Himari simply smiles. They're bickering resumes, but the tone has changed. Kirishima acts terrified. Himari threatens more tutoring, and everyone watching recognizes affection hiding inside the chaos. Later, Kirishima receives a message from Himari thanking him for the day, and asking whether he will help again. He stares at the screen, caught completely off guard. Kirishima smiles and calls her a strange girl. The summer vacation ends with one more relationship quietly beginning to shift. By the end of August, school resumes and the morning platform fills again. Hikoichi and Nayu greet each other as friends, carrying an entire summer of memories between them. They exchanged presents, reunited at the fireworks festival, learned each other's names, and began messaging. Summer changed almost nothing on the surface, and nearly everything underneath. As the new term begins, both wonder what their relationship will become next. Their shoulders nearly touch, yet the answer still feels far away. The matchmakers immediately notice one frustrating detail. Despite all that progress, Hikoichi and Nayu still struggle to hold a normal conversation. Small changes are visible, but their nervousness remains powerful. Every question becomes a major decision, and every pause threatens to swallow the moment. The supporters worry that if one conversation dies, another opportunity may not come soon. For Hikoichi and Nayu, even ordinary small talk carries enormous pressure. Still, they continue discussing games, school, and recent events, gradually adding personal questions. Nothing sounds dramatic. That is exactly why it matters. The conversation turns into a warning about people who brag endlessly about achievements nobody asked to hear. Even the manager pauses when he realizes the description may fit him a little too well. Okute thinks that kind of pointless boasting can still be cute when the speaker is genuinely proud, stunning the adults with her strangely mature view. The others insist that good conversation is less about performing and more about finding what the other person truly wants to share. But another problem appears immediately. Pretending to listen while condescendingly steering the conversation can feel even worse. Understanding someone cannot be reduced to a trick. Meanwhile, Nayu admits that she and Hikoichi attend different schools and only overlap at cram school, leaving them very little time together. She knows he is inexperienced and appreciates every clumsy effort he makes, yet part of her still wishes he would be a little more direct. Then a quieter worry settles in. Nayu realizes she did most of the talking during their outing, and now she cannot stop wondering whether Hikoichi enjoyed himself too. Mace worries about whether Hikoichi will ever invite Nayu out again, while the adults frame dating as a chance for two people to understand each other better. For once, their teasing carries a sincere concern. Sitting right beside Hikoichi, Nayu sends him a message instead of speaking aloud. It is simple, honest, and terrifying. She really enjoys talking to him. She immediately panics and asks him to forget it. But Hikoichi answers before she can retreat, saying he is genuinely happy because he enjoys talking to Himeyori-san too. Relief replaces fear. Still embarrassed, they formally tell each other how much they are looking forward to the new school term. It is not a confession. Not yet. But one careful step at a time, they enter a new season together. While their supporters belatedly realize the two have been messaging beside each other. September arrives with sports festivals, cultural festivals, school trips, and Christmas waiting further ahead. The passengers become absurdly excited, convinced that the new term will offer Hikoichi and Nayu countless chances to grow closer. Then the forecast changes. A typhoon suddenly turns toward the city, disrupting schools and work plans just as everyone had begun celebrating the start of term. The supporters are disappointed until one dangerous possibility occurs to them. What if Hikoichi's and Nayu's schools remain open despite the storm? Their romantic imagination restarts instantly. They picture the two teenagers commuting together through violent weather, their fragile relationship tested by rain and wind. In the passengers' minds, it is already absolute cinema. The fantasy grows more dramatic. A pitch-black train stopped by a power outage, with Hikoichi and Nayu soaked, trembling, and pressed shoulder to shoulder. Reality has not even begun. Yet the supporters are already overwhelmed. Thunder rolls outside. Before the fantasy can go any further, The office lady checks whether either school has actually canceled classes. One flash of lightning is enough for the university student to imagine Nayu instinctively clinging to Hikoichi's arm. The image is so convincing that even the manager starts reconsidering staying home. The office lady points out that the rain is far worse than their fantasies acknowledge, but the others are too invested to listen. They want romance. The typhoon refuses to cooperate. The manager declares that true supporters must witness whatever happens with their own eyes. Yet when the others ask who will rescue him if the trains stop and he becomes stranded, his heroic resolve suddenly looks less impressive. Their argument becomes unexpectedly philosophical. People can regret the road they chose or the road they avoided, but no one can know the future beforehand. There is only the decision made now. So the three vow to face the uncertainty together and laugh about it later. Somewhere beyond the storm, they declare, a rainbow must be waiting. The office lady refuses to be swayed, until she is shown riding through the downpour anyway, soaked and miserable inside a train. This is not the romantic storm scene she imagined. Rain lashes the city as the self-proclaimed supporters push onward like heroes in an epic disaster film. Their dignity does not survive the journey. Then the manager quietly announces that he may work from home after all. Betrayal. The others immediately tear into him for abandoning the grand pact he helped create. At home, Hikoichi wakes to cancellation notices. Club activities are suspended and classes may move online. He cannot see Nayu on the train, so the two begin messaging instead. What starts as a few updates about the storm, school, and Ganshin continues throughout the day. Hikoichi eventually notices something astonishing. They have been talking almost constantly despite never meeting face to face. Nayu reaches the same realization. The typhoon stole their morning together, yet it gave her an entire day to stay connected with Hikoichi. Kirishima watches Hikoichi remain glued to his phone and jokes that he has finally lost all patience. Hikoichi barely hears him. Another message has arrived. Back at home, Hikoichi waits for the screen to light up again. Every notification now feels important. Then the phone suddenly connects them live. Hikoichi hears Nayu's voice and freezes, while she realizes too late that their comfortable messages have turned into an actual conversation. Nayu admits that she is happy they can talk even when they are not riding the train. Sleeping longer was nice, she says, but she still missed seeing him. The call ends and Nayu collapses onto the floor in embarrassment. She cannot believe those words actually escaped her mouth. Later, she lies awake clutching her phone, replaying the conversation again and again. The storm outside is beginning to fade. The one inside her chest is not. Hikoichi cannot concentrate either. After only one day apart, he already wants to see Nayu again, and every quiet minute makes him hope she will message or call. Himari gives Nayu the obvious advice, just call him. Nayu fires back that if it were truly that easy, she would not be suffering in the first place. At dinner, Hikoichi keeps staring at the time and their message history. He wants to contact her, but his nervous mind insists that he needs his proper excuse. He imagines sending a photo of a rainbow or simply asking what Nayu is doing, then rejects every idea as too transparent. Friendship should make calling easy. Somehow, caring this much makes it harder. Exchanging numbers gave them the freedom to reach each other at any time. It also gave them a new problem. Neither can stop thinking about the other. Hikoichi remembers the cafe meeting that failed because they could not contact each other. If they had exchanged numbers earlier, everything would have been simple. Now they have those numbers, and he is still terrified to use his. Then he forces himself to accept the obvious. Friends invite each other out. So Hikoichi sends Nayu a message asking whether she wants to visit Kameda Coffee with him on Saturday, finally reviving the plan that once slipped away. Sent. Hikoichi immediately panics, convinced he moved too quickly and ruined everything before it could begin. Across town, Nayu receives the invitation. She stares at the screen in stunned silence. Hikoichi has asked her out for coffee. The next morning, the university student stays home with a cold after getting soaked in the typhoon, leaving the manager and office lady to observe the first day of term alone. He demands updates anyway. Hikoichi and Nayu greet each other with far too much energy, both painfully conscious of Saturday's plan. Nayu formally asks to sit beside him, and Hikoichi answers with equal stiffness. Their supporters need only one glance to know something happened while everyone was apart. The atmosphere is not merely awkward. It is charged. Hikoichi admits he never expected Nayu to reply so quickly. Because they both have afternoon commitments, they agree to meet at Kameda Coffee on Saturday morning, and the reality finally hits him. This time, they are truly going together. The office lady compares their behavior to the morning after a first kiss, sending the absent university student into a frenzy through the group chat. The manager insists that coffee alone cannot explain this much tension. With their third observer missing, the manager and office lady shoulder the full burden of interpretation. They watch every glance and pause, desperate to determine what changed during the storm. Nayu finally admits that she was genuinely happy, and that she had been waiting the whole time. The supporters misunderstand the context and imagine a dramatic typhoon reunion, but Hikoichi understands the feeling behind her words. The absent university student turns that misunderstanding into another ridiculous storm fantasy, only to be reminded that the manager and office lady were the ones actually stranded yesterday. Meanwhile, Nayu privately wonders whether Hikoichi's invitation means more than an ordinary trip between friends. Hikoichi blurts out that he would not ask just anyone, sounding dangerously close to a confession. Then he hurriedly explains that he simply has no female friends and does not know what is considered normal. He apologizes for acting strangely and admits that doing anything like this with a girl is far outside his comfort zone. Nayu is his first. When she softly asks whether she is his first time too, both immediately realize how the sentence sounds. They lean toward each other in mutual embarrassment, and the distant observers completely misread the scene. In their imagination, the two have already skipped straight to kissing. The manager and office lady proudly claim that only adults seasoned by life can recognize such rapid romantic progress. Their confidence is enormous, their accuracy is not. Hikoichi confirms the details. Saturday morning at the east exit near Kamita Coffee. Nayu smiles and tells him she is truly looking forward to it. The supporters finally fall silent as the simple truth dawns on them. Hikoichi invited Nayu to a cafe. After all their wild theories, the long-awaited day has arrived, and they immediately begin arguing over who understood it first. Saturday comes. Hikoichi and Nayu meet again, and she thanks him for inviting her out. The cafe plan that once failed is finally real. Round 2 begins, and this time neither of them intends to miss it.